UIC Liberty TV. Change you can trust.
Good evening everyone, and welcome to another edition of UIC Liberty TV. My name is Joseph Patterson, and it is my pleasure to be here tonight to speak with none other than Mr. Chase Neal. He's no stranger to this platform, as you all know. Mr. Neal has been around the blocks quite a few times, holding different portfolios in the UIC. And so tonight we're going to be talking particularly about his candidacy as a potential member of parliament for the UIC. Welcome, Mr. Neal. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm good, Sir Patterson. Thank you for having me. Good night, Jamaica. Welcome.
Excellent. So, Mr. Neal, how has been your day so far? This wonderful Sunday.
I just came in from cadet camp. It was supposed to be dismissed, but there were some challenges with transport, so couldn't leave the children.
Okay.
To get here, then there was no electricity. So I was wondering what to do. The electricity came back just in time.
Oh my goodness, boy. Well, welcome to Jamaica. So the thing set. When it's not electricity, it's internet. When it's not internet, it's rain. When it's not rain, it's earthquake. When it's not earthquake, it's crime. When it's not crime, it's something else. So we're always dealing with a problem where we say Jamaica is no problem, right? But thank you for being here. We're going to be talking about you, sir, your candidacy. We want to get a bit of understanding about who Chase Neal is. We have seen you doing presentation on education and other topics here, but we don't know you. People don't know you. They don't know, what makes up the man, where the man come from, what kind of struggles the man go through, who is his parents, what kind of education him have, him rich or broke, what is he? So tonight we're going to get to know who is Chase Neal. And I mean, I need no introduction, but for the sake of those who might be watching us for the first time, I'm Joseph Patterson. I am the founder of the UIC, one-time president, and I'm also, formally the spokesperson for finance and all that kind of stuff. But you, Mr. Neal, you have held many positions in the UIC. I think you have been general secretary, you have been vice president, you have been deputy general secretary, you have led the portfolio on communication, you have been the spokesperson on education. You have been around through a number of iterations. You have been there when we have coup attempts and attempts to overthrow. You have dealt with banking situations. We're going to talk about a whole heap of things tonight. And where do we begin? Well, let me just say this. I want to thank you for agreeing, first of all, to do this live, to introduce you yourself to the Jamaican people as the Member of Parliament candidate for, is it Eastern? Western St. Mary, under the banner of the UIC, Jamaica's official third registered political party since December 2nd, 2019. So let's begin by telling us now, who is Chase Neal? And I want you to kind of walk us through a few things. I want to know a little about your family background. We want to know about your education. We want to know about your vocational history. Tell us how all of this, family, education, and work, prepared you for the task you now want to take on as the Member of Parliament for Western St. Mary. So walk us through. Who is Chase Neal?
All right. Thank you, Sir Patterson. I think, Craig Mackenzie, you will find out that I definitely don't have everything easy at all when they are finished. All right. So Chase Albert Neal was born on October 13, 1985 to Densa Thompson and Fitz Neal in Kingston, at the Jubilee Hospital, the Victoria Jubilee Hospital. No, though I was born in Kingston, I have spent the majority of my life in St. Mary. I went to the Port Maria Primary School. Um, I graduated. Well, I did not graduate. I left from grade five, having passed my common entrance exams in grade five. Yes, I did common entrance.
Hold on,
Um,
hold on. Are you telling us that you were brighter than the other kids, and so you passed common entrance a
I
year?
am glad that you asked the question. I am glad you asked the question. No, I was a very sickly child. I spent 70% of my time outside of the classroom, but I loved to read. My grandmother had this big bookcase with entire series of encyclopedias, which I read out. And so people thought I was a nerd. I just like to read. Well, maybe that's the definition of a nerd. So I I passed my common entrance exams because I like to read. In fact, my mother thought I should not attempt the exam because I was not going to pass. She thought I should have gone on to grade six. But my aunt said, make the boy try and hold him back. And I did the exams and I passed to everybody's surprise. Everybody jumped. It was a big jubilee because I was so often absent from school. I was asthmatic because I had bronchitis. I had asthma real bad. Temperature changes could cause an attack. Dust, pollen, uh, physical exertion. Anyway, so I went to St. Mary High. Um, Spent 5 years there. No, I also missed out on a lot of my school days at St. Mary because of the asthma. However, I got baptized when I was in grade 11, and as someone in the church had said to me, Deacon Novlet Brown, she prophesied the day you're baptized is the day that asthma left you. I don't know if it's faith or intention, some words of power, I guess. Um, I went under the water in Good Friday 2001, and since I came up back, I have had not one more asthma attack. And
Wow.
so
Hold on. Tell us which church that, which
Oxford
denomination?
Baptist Church.
Oxford Baptist Church. So if a Jamaican wants to get rid of asthma, Oxford Baptist Church is weird. Oh, by the way, I had asthma as well as a child, young child. But my cure was, you don't want to hear this, but at about, I think I was about 3 years old, I took a snail off the wall and sucked it out, and my asthma went away. Don't ask me how. But
Yeah.
anyways, continue with your story.
All right. So, um, because of the same asthma, I did not get the subject I wanted. I wanted to become a medical doctor
Mhm.
and many things. I also wanted to become a military officer and a preacher. And but there were people who thought that I did not know what I want. That's not true. I wanted all of them.
Wow.
And yeah, so I wanted to be a medical doctor. I wanted to become a military officer. And I wanted to be a preacher.
Hold on. Medical doctor, military officer, and preacher. What do those have in common?
I think it's service. And the idea, in terms of the doctor, I've always been curious about how our parts work together.
Mhm.
So the biology aspect, the chemistry aspect of it, why we respond certain ways to things. I've always been interested in how the body works. Not just the human body, mind you, but then medicine would have allowed me a deep dive into it and the chance to practice the knowledge. So that was, I think, the driving force for being a medical doctor. As for the preacher,
Mhm.
I also was very curious about how things work in the spiritual realm. So in my mind, a preacher would be the epitome of knowledge in the spiritual world. So I've
Wow.
always been interested in the spiritual world and also in the science of things. Um, to be a soldier at that time is because I realized that girls like me in uniform and I wanted the girls.
Oh
So
my goodness. Oh my goodness. Let us pause on this one and welcome everybody to the show. Wherever you are in the world, welcome VP Jasmine Powell. I see you on Cool Guy. Craig McKenzie, big up yourself, former treasurer. Marlene Duffus and others around the world. Thank you. We're speaking with Chase Neal. Chase Neal is the candidate, the UIC candidate for Western St. Mary. And we want to fasten in business today. We want to understand his background and so on. So he's telling us that he wanted to be three things as a child. One is a medical doctor, one is a military officer, and the other is a minister of religion. Clearly, he loved body parts, from the medical side. I don't know which is his favorite body part, I won't ask.
Actually, one from the gynecologist.
A gynecologist. Oh my goodness. we know what part him like. And he also, so basically the medical doctor side would save life. The military officer side, he may end up taking life. And on the ministerial side, he would be saving the soul. So what do you think? Continue, sir.
All right. So I did not get to sit chemistry because I had missed a lot of SBAs because of the aforementioned asthma. So my principal said to me that I could not be a doctor because students would have to start studying for medicine at an early age. And I took that as gospel and I forsook my ambition because I believed what the principal said. That was very unfortunate. And that stayed with me. But even when I became a teacher, that I do not tell students that they can't, but we'll come to that when we reach the teaching. So I sat 7 subjects at the CSEC level. I had the science subjects plus history and geography because I'm curious and I thought that knowing more about history would. I was always, by the way, curious about civics and how the country governs itself. So I studied constitutions of different countries as a young man. People say me boring, but it was very interesting to me.
Mhm.
All right, so when I left high school, the only other thing that I thought that I wanted to do if I could not go into medicine, when I mentioned the military, I was barred from that because of my asthmatic history. So I said, all right, can't do that either. All right.
Okay, so you joined the cadet though, right? You did join the cadet.
Mommy would not let me join cadet in high school. So we'll come to how I actually went in the cadet force. No, I said, all right, if I could not have what I wanted, the next best thing would have been journalism because of the investigative part of it. I actually liked to research. I did not like school, by the way. I hated school as a child, but I actually liked to learn on my own. So the research part of the journalism, I said I wanted to go to Karimak, but mommy and daddy never have Karimak money. Mommy and daddy have teacher money. So reluctantly, kicking and fighting, I went to teachers college. So they said that I should use teaching as a stepping stone. So earn my teacher's diploma because it was my teacher's college at the time, and the highest degree offered when I matriculated in 2004 was a diploma in whatever discipline you would be studying. So I had a dilemma now. I liked sciences and I liked language. No, Michael did not offer me the option to choose both. I had to choose one. I couldn't decide which one I liked more. So I did eeny, meeny, miny, more. Because since I had my mind set on being a journalist now, I started looking at the language side of it. So eeny, meeny, miny, more language. All right, lock me eye, language it is. So I started studying double option English at Michael University College. That's English language, English literature, communication studies, language arts, that whole gamut of the English courses. Now, while I was at Michael, lo and behold, there was an officer training unit there. That unit trains cadet officers. I said, well, mommy can't tell me nothing again, me gone into this. So, so I signed up to become a cadet officer and train for 2 years. Now, one of my close friends who also had asthma as a child and was barred from entering the military, I should even say this though, because I don't want to find out, you know. He said that there was this way to get in to join as a cadet officer, and then after being commissioned as an officer, to join the Jamaica Reserves, serve 3 years, and then apply to be in the regular force. They won't even look at the history then, and he did it and went through and said, "Yeah, I'm a cadet for me." So I entered cadet now as a stepping stone to get into the reserve. So now I wasn't so reluctant to do teaching because teaching would keep me close to cadets to get me where I wanted to be.
Understood. Did your friend get through to the military?
Yes.
But you didn't.
I actually did. I started, but so after college, I was very active in the extracurricular activities. I don't know what past college, by the way, because I was so busy. I took on a job as a reserve security officer and a special district constable. They sent myself to school while I was studying at Michael. And while I was doing those jobs, I also was involved in the karate club. I was involved in cadetting. I was involved in the university college and Christian fraternity, chess club. Yes, a lot of things.
Before you go any further, I'm curious to know, did the fact that you finally got into uniform attracted the girl?
Yes, I got my wish.
Okay. Well, I won't ask if you kept a scorecard or anything. We're not going to go there. But
I don't think certain people want to know that.
So I'm glad to hear that you got your wish.
Yes.
All right.
So I did apply to the military after some years in the cadet force. I left and I came back to St. Mary to teach. I got offers in Kingston, but I decided to teach in my home parish. And I applied to the JDF. I did not get. Sometimes it take a long time to call you, and it was, I think, around 7 years into teaching until I got a call from them. And yes, I said yes, we can start now. But in 2015, I got diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. It's said to be hereditary. My grandmother had it skipped a generation and then decided to lick me. Colitis, and the symptoms caused me to stop military training. So there was a lot of joint pains and a lot of diarrhea and some unpleasant things. Now, because of that, also I had to stop teaching in the classroom because I was missing a lot of classes starting from 2015. And the medication started to get me to put on weight and I started ballooning up. So yeah, so the steroids made me overweight, and then my liver started to give problems because of the steroids, and I stopped.
Wow.
Now, so I had to now be home, not working, and wondering what to do. But I still was learning, studying. So between 2015 and 2018, I was totally at the mercy of my poor mother. Now I had to depend on her. And my then girlfriend, now wife, good woman.
Yeah,
That's Christy.
Yeah.
So between 2015 and 2018, there was a struggle with this disease, and so I got some jobs, but because of the symptoms, they were never long lasting. However, I met upon acupressure. Being a curious fellow, I've always been researching things. I don't even remember how I ended up meeting upon acupressure, and I started learning online, started applying it to myself, and woof, what the medication could not do.
Okay. What is acupressure, and is it different from acupuncture?
It is similar. It is where acupuncture meets massage. So so it's really using primarily the fingertips, the knuckles to massage the same point that you would insert the needles in acupuncture.
Okay, so it's pressure points versus
Pressure
needle
point
point.
based, yeah.
Okay, got it. And
Yeah.
so you learned that, you studied that?
Yes, I studied that. Got a diploma from an online academy. Um, and then I started using it on myself, and then that is how I started getting relief from colitis. Um, then, and fretting about the entire thing also brought me high blood pressure because I was really depressed during this time. And but anyway, I got over that and found an online teaching job. So yes, I start work money again, start feel good.
Good.
And
Quick
now,
question, though, quick question. And by the way, big shout out to interim president, our good friend and lady, Coretta Brown Johnson. I see you're on. Welcome. Big up, Mr. Winston Wright. Good to see you on as well, VP for Cornwall. Earlier today, I did a public thing where I announced again the emails were sent out. So you all know that Mr. Wright is no longer the interim president, but he's returning to VP for Cornwall and deputy chairman as well, and MP for his constituency in Betheltown and Westmoreland. So we spoke about that earlier, but just for those of you who don't know. But Mr. Chase, just a question on my mind with this pressure, what do you call it? Acupressure. Did you find that your partner was also happy that you learned those skills?
yes, she did. She was happy. Yes, she was
I'm
happy.
very happy because it would have been a really good skill to have.
Yeah,
Yeah. Okay. Good.
it
Continue.
cuts down on doctor bills except for the most serious illnesses, but it takes some time. That's the drawback.
Okay.
The time investment. In fact, I also have a business through which I offer acupressure combined with life coaching. During the times that I was out, I got myself some qualifications in life coaching,
Mhm.
in reflexology, which is another pressure-based treatment system, and psychology. I did a diploma in psychology, and I started studying, motivated by what I found, a combined master's and a doctorate in acupuncture and Chinese herbal medicine, which I'm currently completing.
How many certifications, diplomas, degrees you have at this time, approximately, if you can recall?
Oh, okay. All right. Around 7, I think.
Okay.
There's also an honorary Doctor of Divinity for my service to some religious organizations. I don't think I would call it as
So we should call you Dr. Neil.
Wait until I finish my doctorate.
Wow. Okay. All right. Stay bright, man. Keep going.
Yes. Also, what I had found that helped me was meditation because I started studying Taoism. In fact, I'm an ordained Taoist priest.
Wow. So,
Yes. So
hold up. What is that?
Taoism is based on the. All right, so maybe this may be familiar with you. You may see the yin yang sign that circle with the black. All right, so that's a symbol of Taoism or Taoism. Taoism is based on the principle of the Tao, an undefinable um, energy or cause of all life and existence. And if we release our ego and trust in the Tao, it guides our lives in the best possible way. That is the overarching principle of Taoism. Also, the principle of yin and yang opposites, that there must be balance, there must be duality. So evil is only evil because of perception, but it's necessary because there is good, and life must have these conflicting um,
Mhm.
balances or qualities or principles or phases.
Okay.
Um,
Well, clearly we see the existence of good and evil in our society, whether we believe it's necessary to exist or not. But on the matter of releasing one's ego
yeah,
and allowing the, let me use the word God for simplicity here, because I think it's the same essence. It's a
It's the
divine
same
power.
yeah.
It's a power that is outside of us. And I don't know, and I'm asking you, but it's a power outside of us which works best when we let go of self or ego, which in essence is what some pastors would teach in Christianity as well, which is to,
Proverbs, we trust in
you
the
know,
Lord.
and to deny self
Yeah.
and allow the good in you, or not even the good in you, but the good that is possible to come from you, or to be reflected through you, to happen. So it's kind of something like that. Am I getting it right? Okay.
Um, I had studied with the International Metaphysical Ministry, the Temple of the Jedi Order, a number of religious organizations, and studied Buddhism, the Baha'i faith, also ordained as a Christian minister. So what I found is that all religions have some parallel, have some truth, and not just religions too. Spiritual philosophies also, they are similar. They may use different terminologies, and
Mhm.
they may use different methods to achieve the same purpose, but they're all saying the same thing in different languages.
It's funny you say that, because one of the core principles of the UIC is that as a movement, we do not give preeminence to any religion whatsoever. Instead, what we do is respect your right to hold to whatever religion you deem that you want to. We call it religious liberty. And in our operations, we don't give preference to any one religion, but respect everyone's right to their religion. Do you find that your knowledge of the metaphysical realm allows you to appreciate that philosophy of the UIC, or does it counters that philosophy?
It does go in line with what the UIC puts forward, because all religions should be respected, and all religions are equal. None is above the other.
Mhm. There's one differentiating factor though in the UIC, and that is the factor of if the religion espouses the use of force or fraud to deny anyone their right to their life, liberty, or property, then that's where we part company.
Some denominations would not like to hear that, but that is the reality that we face if we want to live in a world in which our rights are respected.
Mhm.
And
So,
the Abrahamic religions tend
mhm.
to have this value that they are the only religion that is correct, and all other religions must be absorbed or eradicated
Mhm. And
for their
yeah,
preference.
that is where I mean, I personally have a problem with that. And I think every sane person should. No religion has the right to seek to eradicate by forceful means anyone else. So, as a Christian, I must respect the fact that you have a right to be a Muslim, a deist, a Buddhist, atheist, anything you want to be, as long as your choice of religion does not include or supports or promotes the idea of violating my right to my life, my liberty, or my property, because you or your God says so.
Exactly.
Mhm. Okay, moving right along. Continue. We haven't gotten anywhere yet, and it's 30 minutes in us. You have to hurry up now and give us your family and
Or
where you going?
my family background, I grew up with my we grew up in an extended family situation. So my mother, my father, my grandmother, at first two aunts were in the same house. Um, no, I did not know that we were poor until I was big, because my grandmother had the uncanny ability to turn and make fashion, as and be would say. So we did not notice that we barely had it until we were adults and we realized that they were making a little look like a lot.
Mhm.
So
Or was it that you know come to Kingston or wherever, and you're seeing a contrast to
yeah,
your way of life? Because the truth is, people say, for example, that poverty breeds crime. It's not true. What breeds crime is inequality and inequity. So when a person lives in a society where they see some living in great opulence, others living in great poverty, they ask the question why. And if they can't find a reasonable answer, for example, if the answer was, oh, they are wealthy because they worked hard, made good decisions, and as a result of that, created value and traded that value with other people, and that caused their standard of living to go up. If a person can see that, it's okay, so I can focus then on emulating that. But if the idea is no, they acquire it by means that are not moral or just, and so on, then it incites a feeling of what's the word now? Where you feel bad about it, and you feel,
Indignation.
what's the word?
That anger, that indignation. There
Yeah,
must be something out to get out of this.
yeah. So
And
you feel like you have
frustration.
to retaliate, and that now, if you're not able to work hard and work smart and be a decent citizen and get there, and they have gotten there through illicit means, then you feel like you must do something. And by the way, that idea of illicit means may be one that is, it may be true that they got it the wrong way, or it may be that a leader or leaders are able to convince you that they got it the wrong way. So either way is detrimental, whether it's true or not. Your thoughts?
Yes, that is true. What I want to highlight though, since we're on the subject of poverty, and I don't think that many Jamaicans are aware that this situation exists. I wasn't until I started volunteering in the Chamber of Commerce that there are actual communities in Jamaica that are so financially depressed, where so many persons do not have the resources so that one cannot help the other, and that these people are ostracized and victimized when they go through school and do their best, they can't get any jobs because of where they come from.
Mhm.
So the inequality, the poverty, works together because now they have no legal way of rising out of their situation. They
Yeah.
cannot get the job because of where they come from.
Or the name they have, or the connections they don't have. So the inequality is not, and by the way, our communist friends and socialist friends, for them, equality is whereby the government force people to be equal economically. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about a system that gives you an equal opportunity. So you want a system whereby if Chase come from, where were you from in St. Mary? Which area?
Get this,
Where?
get this down.
Gettyston. That's a poor community, relatively speaking.
Um, in comparison to many
Many
communities.
others. So if Chase come from Gettyston, but him put him head down and put him head to him lesson and work hard, and even when parents don't have much money, him do well in a school and make it to college and graduate. And because of that, Chase is able to have equal access to all of the employment opportunities and all of the commercial opportunities if he wishes to be an entrepreneur or both, and as such can rise out of poverty and help up his brothers and sisters and his community, then great. But if the system is so skewed that even though him do all of that and try hard, the system is stocked against him, whereby, for example, regulations are designed to oppress the small man and give benefit and preferential treatment to the big man, or you have to have political connections, so you have to run behind Mr. MP or Mr. Councillor and do him bidding, and if you do him bidding, then him via apply and you get through. That kind of environment brings out the worst in our people, and that's why the UIC has a different model, one that says, let's have a meritocracy where by your own merit you grow, not because the MP like you or the councillor like you or the PSOJ oligarchs fund you, but rather if you bring value to the table, that value is recognized, appreciated, and translated into you having upward mobility, right?
That is so perfectly said. And we find that when we when we give everyone equal opportunity, then we get rid of this inequality, and then everyone will now have access to better themselves if they so choose. And
Excellent.
then no, whenever a man has to uplift himself um, in society, then he will no longer need to hide and ship drugs or involve himself in gangs, to make money and earn respect for himself. He can make a respectable living for himself by going through the approved means without hurting anybody. And that is what we are trying to create.
All right, so we got a good feeling for your background now, Chase. We know say you're bright. We know say you come from humble beginnings. We know say you're multifaceted. You have a whole heap of diplomas and certificate, and you're studying for your doctorate. And we know say you can write and talk because you have studied language and how to use words and so on. So you're well fit to be somebody that can talk to the people and for the people. But what attracted you to the UIC with all of that? Why did you choose to come to the UIC?
All right. So in as I had said, since grade nine, I should say, I've been very much interested in civics. Big up yourself, Mr. Murphy, if you're listening. He was my civics teacher, and I never said it to him. I probably should have. I never have. But he really started that love of governance system. And since then, I always realized that there was something wrong with how Jamaica is governed. It is corrupt. It is disgusting. Um, Sometimes when I think about Jamaican politics, I'm just utterly disgusted at the waste it creates. No, I had a problem with, for example, the fact that ministers who were not uh, qualified to sit where they are were running ministries. We have a national security minister who's a doctor, who would be better served in the Ministry of Health, for example. We have our members of parliament who are freely given some absurd sums of money as community development fund to direct to different projects, which ends up being wasteful, which would have been better directed by the central government on behalf of the people. We have ministers having direct access to do with our taxes as they wish. A lot of our money goes overseas in private accounts. We A lot of it did not make any sense to me. I thought that, for example, senators should have been elected persons. I thought that the head of state being in the United Kingdom didn't make any sense. And why do we need to have a governor general separate from a prime minister? So I actually even started to build a new governance system for Jamaica. Didn't know how I was going to sell it though. And then for some reason, in 2021, I think it was May. Was it May or August? I don't remember the exact month. In 2021, though, where a UIC feed came in my, it came as a suggestion while I was watching some videos, and I started saying, this is the right thing for me to join as a member. I did not intend to run as an MP candidate, by the way. That was never my intention, because though I do have leadership roles, I prefer to be in the background. I'm a leader who leads by empowering other persons to go to the front, if that makes sense. So I much prefer to be in the woods meditating, coming out to do my roles in society, and retreating to um, discover other things, learn more about the within and about nature. However, I showed it to my father. No, he was the people's person. My father, Fitzneil. In fact, Daddy was a PNP stalwart, and he was once considered to be councillor for the Islington division, but because of his thoughts of equity, he wanted to give to the JLP people as equally as he gave to the PNP people. Then they said, no, we know why. um, so although he believed in the PNP, he still did not like the system. So when I showed him the UIC, he said yes, he would do it. But shortly after, he was diagnosed with COVID-19, and I said, all right, I'll hold the seat for him until he got better. But he died September 12th, 2021. He passed away. And then, so I now have the seat. So I'm trying to do my best by it. That is how I ended up as an MP candidate.
So hold on. Well, I wasn't asking about Canada. I was asking about how you joined the UIC, but got it.
Oh, oh,
But this, you said something which struck a chord with me. So your father, being a PNP stalwart,
yeah,
when he was being considered by the party for councillor, he decided he was going to be a fair and balanced representative of the people.
yeah,
He would not give to PNP people and not give equally to JLP people. And because of that, those in his party's rank and file and leadership, you know, said, no, no, no. If you're going to be one away, you're going to have to look out for fewer people first.
yeah,
And
exactly.
we don't want nobody we're going to get equally to the GLP and you either with we or you against we. Just like how them with for them people and against we. That is the kind of tribalism, the kind of division, the kind of mindset, the kind of morality that we want in this constituency. And if you, Mr. Neil, now gonna do that, we don't want you as good as you are, as nice as you are, as effective as you are as a candidate. We don't want you unless you're going to do this kind of politics. That's what happened to your father, right?
And he decided that he did not want to be at the forefront of such a negative mindset. In fact, he was also considered for MP subsequently, and he flat out refused because he did not want to be an MP for PNP. He wanted to be an MP for the people. So he refused any other political post, but he would still be a supporter of the party.
And there are a number of Jamaicans, who continue to do that. And I honestly, I'm hoping we can wake up some people. You cannot, I think the Bible put it this way. Correct me if I'm wrong, you're the religious man. Can two walk together unless they agree? I think that's in Amos, the book of Amos or so.
Yeah.
And what it speaks to is you cannot be morally attached to something if you don't agree. And I cannot see how any Jamaican who knows the history of Jamaica, the history of the PNP and the GLP, the fact that they're both criminal gangs, clearly, there's no doubt about that. I'm not making this up. Every Jamaican who is aware knows that these two groups have engaged in criminal activities. These two groups have been terrorist organizations in Jamaica. These two groups have engaged in severe levels of corruption in this country and have cost us dearly as a people. How then can, for whatever justification, can any Jamaican give to say, I am going to be a part of this one or this one? I'm so pleased that your father, before he passed away, decided to join the UIC and say, this is what he wants. This is what Jamaica needs. I'm happy because if he was a Christian, if it was a matter of religion, sometimes in religion, they say you must ask forgiveness before you're dead so you can go to heaven. You understand? I think if there is any hope on that front, that he would have redeemed himself just before he passed away by deciding that he's going to sever ties with the one or the other and join the unifying body, because we're here not to unite people. We want to bring, if you're in the PNP and your conscience bother you, you now know that it's wrong. Come to the UIC. If you're in the GLP and your conscience bother you, and you know that it is wrong, come to the UIC. If you're in none of them and you give up on politics, but know for sure that if you continue to abstain, you're giving the two of them the right to rule you, come to the UIC. Did I get that right, Mr. Cheese? Mr. Cheese?
Definitely, sir. Perfectly said.
Mhm.
And to add to what you said, when we say come to the UIC, I don't want people to get into their head the old way of thinking that we're saying come to the UIC to pick up Chasney because he's the man, the right man for the job. I know that is the thinking that we have. we see it now in the candidates from the other party. They've said this is the man for the job. More than the man, more than the persons holding the seat in UIC, we want you to look at the governance system that we propose, because we may have what we call a good politician, if such thing exists, in this system, but we cannot have. Let me use an example. We can have great actors in bad movies because the plot suck, the directors suck. We cannot get the best of these good actors. So the system that we have now, even if a particular politician may be good, they are going to make the nation worse because the system is designed for us to fail. The system is designed for Jamaicans to be less than what they could be and to oppress us and take our liberty. So when we say that vote UIC, more than looking at the candidate, though the candidate is important, we want you to look at the system of governance, the policies that we are coming with to better each and every one of us and our descendants going forward.
You make a very powerful point, Mr. Neil, and I'm glad you drive that home because the UIC is bigger than the individuals in the UIC. It's bigger than any one person. It's the principle of the UIC that matters. It's the principle on which we stand. And our principle, we are the only political party which is working to get rid of political parties. You know, we are working to move Jamaica away from division to unity,
Exactly.
from distraction to education, from deception to prosperity, real prosperity, as a result, as a result of meritocracy, empowering the people. There are three things which defines the UIC. If you talk about the UIC, three words everyone should remember: unity, liberty, and empowerment. Why? Our goal is to unite Jamaicans by saying, let's stop being divided by partisan lines. Let's unite around good governance, a system that is going to bring out the best in us. That's number one. Number two, let's unite around the right to be free. Every individual is sovereign. We don't want no king that's sovereign over us. We don't want no president or prime minister that's sovereign over. We don't want no parliament. That's we the people as individual and as a collective or sovereign. Our sovereignty and the only sovereignty we respect is the sovereignty that treats all men and women as equal before the law. And then now, the system of governance must empower people. So your education must be one that doesn't prepare you to merely be a worker, but one that prepares you to be a very well informed and educated and well developed individual. Our economy mustn't be one that is hoping to give you some kind of trickle down benefits, but one that is grassroots, that comes from the bottom up, that empowers the individual to be an equal partner in the system of producing and trading value for value with each other, so that all of us are contributing and all of us have full access to benefiting. And finally, we must ensure that the system we have protects us from even the government. So while the government is there to protect our individual rights, the right to life, liberty, and property, the right to be a sovereign person, the government is empowered by the law to do that. But the law, by virtue of the Constitution, is so written. That's why we call it a constitutional republic. It is not based on man's whim, but on the rule of law. It says, listen, the government protects your rights, and the Constitution protects you from the government. So if the government ever decides to mess with me, like they tried to do in 2020, 2021, and 2, if they ever were to try that, you, the citizens, would have been empowered clearly by law to rise up and do whatever is necessary to get rid of that government. Whatever is necessary. If you want good government, it must be the government which fears the people and not the people who fears the government. Right?
Exactly.
So my next question for you, Mr. Neil, is we have heard what attracted you to the UIC. And you've kind of told us already why you chose to be an MP, because your father, and then it transitioned to that. why didn't you join one of the two colonial parties? You know it would be you know it would be easier. I mean, if you want to run for office in this country, because I've seen, Mr. Neil, I've seen bright people. I've seen bright people, young people who supposed to have sense. I see one young man, he's an economist, young, bright economist. He has gone in there. He has seen the garbage. He came out and talked about it and said, my gosh, it was horrible. It was ugly. And his name is Andre Art. I'll call his name.
I know with whom I know who you're speaking.
And others have done it too. Damian Crawford has also done it. He has come out and said the system is ugly, it is horrible, it is bad. And they said, Bruce Golden said it too. He said it's ugly, it's horrible, it's bad. And then the Bible call it a dog returning to its vomit. You know what I mean? A dog returns to its vomit. What does that mean biblically? Tell us, Mr. Neil. When the Bible talk about a dog returning to its vomit, what does it say?
It's about going back to that thing from which you were delivered, going back to the thing that you know is destructive and not in your best interest. That disgusting, vile thing that churned your stomach, you have gone back to it. You have not left it in truth.
So vomit is something you expel because it is so reprehensible. It is so disgusting. It is so abhorrent. And you dispel this thing and you identify it for the corruption that it is. And when I see these young people go back into this, after they tell us that they have been in it and they have seen the dark, evil side of this, and they go back to it. The only reason they would do that, in my opinion, and I could be wrong, but the only reason why these young people who know that it's vomit go back to the vomit is because they see that as their only way of achieving a certain standard of living in this country. They can't see. I know people. There's a young lady, Mr. Chase. I know her very well. I've done business with her. She's now running for the PNP. She owed me a lot of money. She borrowed money from me and hasn't paid it back. And she's running for the PNP now. And I said, why are you doing this? You tell me, you and I have discussed, and you tell me exactly what you have seen. You know that this is horrible. Why are you going back into this? And the only reason why she's going into it, and why many of them have gone into it, is because they have lost hope in being able to become financially free or financially independent or financially stable by following the normal means that exist outside of politics. They don't see a way to become financially substantive, to have a decent quality life, unless they become a part of the corrupt gravy train which these two parties promised them. Is that your observation as well?
That is true, and I am disappointed in some of them. There is a young man who's running as the PNP candidate for my area. I tried to get him to be interested in running for the councillor candidate for this division, and even as MP, because he had more network than I had. He, he thinks that the UIC policies are very good and the best for Jamaica.
But
He has vocalized that, but he's still actively running for the PNP. He said the UIC policies are good and he's the best. And he's also good friends with Andrea Horton, who you named earlier. And if it is that he can say so strongly that the UIC policies are good for Jamaica, why not get his friend in line and introduce him to this way of thinking? Because what I found with talking with some of these elected representatives, some of them don't even see the system for what it is. But when I have a discussion with them, those who actually think, they actually pause and see what I'm talking about.
yeah,
But you did not leave.
yeah, I think there are many Jamaicans. The truth is, to be very fair, there are many Jamaicans who, because they've been in this thing for so long, they're blinded, right, by so they really believe in their GLP, and they have known. But when they become aware of the UIC, that mindset can't remain anymore. Now they've seen the light. they've had their Damascus moment. Them fall off of the horse. And the scale have been removed from their eyes. And the question they have to make now, and by the way, I'm using all these religious parallels because you're a religious man. Um, the scales have now fallen from their eyes. They, like Saul on the road to Damascus, they see now that there is a better way, there's a different way. But here's the other problem they have: the way too hard. That's why we have so much fake Christians, the way too hard. They want to take the name of Christ, but they don't want to pay the price of Christ. They don't want to take up their cross and follow. They don't want to invest now in the hard work. They see what I have gone through, for example. They see the kind of attacks that I have taken and the issue. Them don't want to do that. Them don't want to face that kind of pain there. So by joining one or the other, they get the easy way out. Is that your observation as well?
But we see it here in the UIC too, sir. We see that we have candidates who sign up, and when they see the work that's involved,
Mhm.
they leave.
Yes,
We,
yes.
we have had many instances of that occurring. They join up and think that
150%.
yes, we throw money at them and just go and run like that. But when they see that they have to go in the field and build their teams, they have to get donors, they have to make themselves seen, them gone.
Yes.
They're not prepared to
They
do
don't
that work.
want the help. They don't want the help to build a house. They just want to enjoy. There's a story I was told as a child. Maybe you know it better than me. It's the one where you might know this, where the lady was trying to bake a bread, but she had to first go and plant the wheat.
Yeah.
And she said, who's going to help me plant the wheat? Oh no, plow the ground first. You have to plow the ground. Anybody want to help me plow the ground? No, some can't bother with that. Anybody want to help me plant the seed? No, some can't bother with that. Anybody want to help me harvest the crop? No, son, I can't bother with that. Anybody want to help me knead the dough? No, son, I can't bother with that. Anybody want to help me bake the bread? No, son, I can't bother. Anybody want to help me eat the bread? Yes. Everybody want to eat the bread. So some people, for example, they criticize, what you asking people for money for? Because that's all they can do. They can just focus on being critics. They cannot come and help to plow the ground, plant the seed, weed out the bush where I try to grow around the seed, cultivate it and water it and help to make it grow. They don't want that. They can just go on social media, on their YouTube channels, and they can just lamb blast, but they not leave them yard or foreign and come here. Them not leave the privilege of their nice Florida or New York or Maryland or whatever house and come. And those who are here in Jamaica, or well, I'm not in Jamaica right now, but those who are in Jamaica, they don't want to leave. I have such great respect for you, Mr. Neil. You know why I have a lot of respect for you and Mr. Wright and Dr. Coretta and VP Jasmine and Dr. Harvey and Sister Janet and Little Naika. And you guys decide to discomfort yourself. You decide to come out of you could have focused on just your teaching online and make a little money and try to make ends meet and do your thing. And all of you, Dr. Coretta could just work on her psychology practice and make her money and enjoy whatever she can within the context of our bad country. All of we couldn't do that. But we have stepped out of our comfort zone, made ourselves vulnerable, suffer the indignation sometimes of the attacks and the inconveniences and the challenges to our finances to try to bring better to the people. But some people, good people with competencies like Mr. Art and Mr. Crawford and Miss Lisa Anna, and there's a young man, he was a member of the UIC. He's not running for one of them. He became a member. He joined up. He was, I won't tell you, I might figure out who it is, but he was well sought after by both political parties. And he made the decision and joined the UIC, paid his membership fees, even donated a few times. And we have spoken, and he has good ideas and good intentions. But when he saw, because he was around during the first attempt, the co-attempt, and he said to me, Mr. Patterson, you need to change the constitution in the UIC so that you cannot be challenged as president. And I said to him, no. If I do that, I'd be undermining the very fundamental principles of the UIC. I must be just as open to being removed as president as being elected as president. I must not have any special privilege, because if we build that now into the UIC, how can we build the kind of Jamaica that we want to build? And then say, boy, Mr. Patterson, here we are, still in the, but you can't leave the system open, so because you don't know them people, I know them going to come in and do things. And in any event, while he was saying all of this and, sounding meaningful, and I don't doubt his sincerity, but in the end, he would not fight the good fight with us. He sing a sankey, light a candle, and found his way back home to the highest bidder. So the PNP outbid the other one, and he's back in the fold, returned to the vomit to run for one of the two. I'm going to understand why you and Dr. Coretta and Mr. Chick, Mr. Wright, and others decide to continue down this very difficult road with me and the others in the UIC. But congratulations, keep it up. My next question to you, sir, is this. What is the vision of the UIC, and why does it resonate with you as a person?
Well, let me answer the first question. I was going to answer the second. The vision of the UIC is a Jamaica that brings out the best in all of us. I don't see how this doesn't resonate in anybody at all. Don't we want the best for all of us? I want the best for me, and I want the best for my family. I want the best for all of my progeny going forward. So I think it's a no-brainer that this vision should resonate um, with any of us. I detest, I hate the fact that a Jamaican should leave Jamaica to make the best of him or herself.
Amen.
We don't see somebody from Dubai leaving Dubai to make the best of themselves. Why not make the best of yourself in your country? I was telling some cadets today that Jamaica is not a poor country. I hate hearing that statement. Jamaica is far from poor. Jamaica makes a lot of money. And when we see the amount of money that is lost every year through political corruption alone, um, trillions of hundreds of trillions of Jamaican dollars, when we convert the 700 to 1 billion US dollars a year. If that were kept in the country for our development, then each Jamaican would have been, each Jamaican rather would be empowered to achieve his or her best potential. No Jamaican would need to suffer. So we all need to have a Jamaica where this all the corruption that is robbing us from our potential, robbing us of our lives even. I saw a man lose his life when I brought my wife to the hospital a couple weeks ago because they did not have the equipment that they needed to keep him alive. And if them never thief out the money out of the country's coffers, all hospitals would have been fitted with equipment that they need. They are robbing us of our lives, robbing us of our future. We want the Jamaica where we get well, it may not be possible to totally get rid of corruption, but we can take that majority of the resources back for the Jamaican people. We can create an environment in which our education, our very culture is transformed in a way to lift us up rather than keep us down. I want that. I'm not everybody on the live, I think you should want that.
Of course. Of course. I mean, the thing is, as you rightly said, Jamaica is not a poor country. It is just a poorly run country, and Miss Cheryl or Cheryl agrees with that. Welcome everyone, Silver Cat, Marlene Duffus, Abigail Harper. Welcome to all of you for being here. Yes, there is this. I think we suffer from a desire for unearned gains.
Yes.
Um, I believe all of our leaders know better, but they have bought into the colonial mindset which is written into our constitution. And it's the mindset of we must exploit others to achieve great wealth. We cannot trust ourselves to create and produce and exchange value for value. You know, if a person, my wife and I, we produce, as you know, bee sweet honey. I'm going to get a plug here right now. So we produce and sell bee sweet honey. Now, if people like what we produce, then they buy it. But in order for us to get your money, we have to produce something of value. And if we produce something of value that you like and we sell that to you, then we justly earn the funds to buy the food, the clothes, the shelter, the transportation, the housing, the recreation that we want. But some people prefer to invest in the political means because the laws and governance model is so structured that only those who control our political levels get the greatest access to our wealth. For example, if you support one of the two parties in the way that they want you to, you might get a contract that you otherwise would not have gotten if you did not do that. Now, let's say Mr. Wright has better skills than you, better competencies than you. He has demonstrated that he is more equipped for the kind of contract in question. Now, because he has not played the game that you play, he has no chance, zero opportunity of accessing it. Now, over time, what does that do to Mr. Wright? Mr. Wright has two options. Option number one is to join you and become a part of the system. So over time, that permeates the entire society. They develop a culture of corruption, which is what we've done. These two parties, over the 80 years, they've created that kind of thinking, that kind of mindset, that kind of existence. So the vast majority have become corrupted in their minds and in their attitudes. Now, the other option Mr. Wright would have is to say, after giving it a lot of effort, trying to make it work without doing that, he decides to develop a different mindset. The mindset is, I need to leave. I need to leave. I need to leave. I need to leave. No, that's the kind of society we have in Jamaica. We're divided into two classes of people. The middle group is shrinking. The group that is trying to make life honestly, with integrity, trying to trade value for value, that group is shrinking at an alarmingly fast rate. And you're having two groups left. One group, which is tied to the corruption gravy train, and so every decision they make is designed to see, how do I fit into this corruption scheme? What can I do to make it work for me? And in this other group over here, which is larger, by the way, is how can I leave this country? I want a farm work yard to leave. Me will marry somebody to leave. Me will run off to leave. Me will stand up in a long line at British High Commission or the US Embassy or Canada. Me tell any lie to leave. Me just want to leave. And that's, now when you have a country where that becomes the mindset, the two mindsets are to leave or engage in corruption, what do you have left? You have a country where you'll wake up and hear that 7 people get murdered last night. You'll have a country where you hear, say, people throw a firebomb in a house and burn out the people then. You'll have a country where you hear, say, wife, baby mother and daughter kidnapped and killed. You'll have a country where you hear, say, little child's throat slashed. You'll have more and more of these degrading, demoralizing, demotivating reports. I get tired of watching the news. You know, as a politician, as somebody who was seeking public office, you have to watch the news, you have to pay attention. But for me, that's extremely depressing. I don't know how other people do it, but it's very depressing to get up every day and you have to listen to a prime minister who you know is lying to the people, an opposition leader who you know is lying to the people, a minister of this or a minister of that who you know is lying. They're not addressing the real issues. And they come and talk all kind of big talk. I heard a new one. They're going to have transformation plans for education. We know say it's foolishness. Then why now invest in alternative energies and whatever, because we know it's foolishness. So it is just becoming more unbearable for me as a person who is, the more informed you are, the more miserable life becomes.
Yes.
Because you can't take the foolishness. You don't fall for the tricks and the foolishness anymore. So you become very, very difficult for you. So Mr. Cheese, my next question for you then, having said all of that, what is the mission of the UIC? And can you explain to me why every Jamaican should support um, the mission that we're talking about here?
So we aim, our mission is to create the non-partisan constitutional republic of Jamaica, and we had spoken it earlier, that protects our individual sovereignty by respecting everyone's right to their life, their liberty and property equally, and that, um, that promotes personal responsibility in a safe, clean, and orderly free market society where everyone may live, earn, and retire with dignity. A great mouthful. Uh, all right. So the non-partisan constitutional republic. That non-partisan part really speaks about the united part of UIC. We get rid of that division. So this JLP versus PNP. In fact, we're going to get rid of the UIC too, people. So you, with your help, we get into government. There's no UIC, no JPP, no JLP, no PNP. Not that we're going to cut them out,
All right, yeah.
because
Second thing, I
yes,
want to make
not
sure.
that we're going to cut them out, but that the method of governance will be such that it doesn't matter whether you are a member of a political party or not. That does not have anything to do with how you will be appointed to office. So eventually, that division will no longer apply to the people of Jamaica. The constitutional republic part speaks of um, we will be governed by a constitution which will be the highest law, not based upon the whims of a particular leader or set of legislators, but there will be a highest law that will ensure our rights that we're just spoken about, that and they can never be taken from or limited or impeded, even by the highest authority in the land outside of the constitution. And I'm sure we want that because we want our thing to be our thing. We don't want anybody to come violate it, violate our body. How can somebody come and tell you what you're in your own body, for example? It's your body. So what the UIC is trying to create um, is not so much giving you the right as in recognizing and showing you that you had your rights all along, and we respect the fact that you have your rights, and these are protected by the highest law in the land, the Constitution. And that republic part speaks of um, the people being the highest form of sovereignty. Now, I think I need to explain this because when we speak of recognizing no sovereignty more than the sovereignty of the individual, some people interpret this to mean is a free for all and there's no order because we are so used to being controlled because we say parliament is sovereign, therefore parliament can tell you what to do, tell us what to do. What we're actually saying is just as Jamaica is termed as sovereign and other states are termed as sovereign, and because of that, no other external power has any right to go and try to control that country. The country has the right to manage its own affairs. In the same way, nobody has the right to manage the affairs of an adult of sound mind. Yeah, we're our own big people. So the government does not have the right to manage your affairs for you. You manage your affairs for yourself. That's what we're saying. Because you have the right to do with your own body, your own time, your own property as you wish. So long as you don't go faster than another man right to do what he wants to do or she wants to do. I was going to say I was going to say they want to do, but I don't want to go in that argument with what they have rightfully earned or has been rightfully gifted to them. So no, the mission also speaks about promoting personal responsibility. When we speak about rights, many times we don't think about the responsibilities that come with our rights. So, in the same way that we have rights or responsibilities to ensure that we do not infringe upon anybody's rights and we protect the environment for the benefit of everybody. Um, Safe, clean, and orderly society. Jamaica is not safe. We want a Jamaica where we are safe, not only as it relates to our physical bodies, we don't have anybody come and shoot you up or cut you throat or cause any harm to us. But I think an aspect that is not spoken about is mentally safe, where we don't abuse one another mentally, and that also ties into personal responsibility too. A Jamaica that is safe mentally, a Jamaica that is safe financially. We don't have any bank or robber money or any other unscrupulous persons or organizations. A society that is orderly, that you can bet your bottom dollar that transportation is on time, that your business will run efficiently. So you're not put out of your way because of some slackness or inefficiency in systems. Uh, this is a Jamaica that will allow us to become the best of ourselves because things are running efficiently. Um, uh, have I left anything out? Well, I think that is it.
Well said, well said. When I look at the mission of the UIC and the fact that it wants us to do a non-partisan constitutional republic, it what impresses me the most about that statement, Mr. Neil, is that we are talking about replacing colonialism lock, stock, and barrel. We're talking about finally ending slavery. I know everybody believes that we're no longer in slavery because we don't have the chains on our hands anymore and somebody with a physical whip over our backs. But right now we're chained by bad governance, bad regulations. We're in chains. And the whip is a government which works not to facilitate our freedom, but to help a hidden group of people to deny us our freedom, to extract our freedom, to extract our wealth. One example of that, one very, very clear example of that, is that our government is able to tax us unlimited. They can, whatever they feel like they can wake up tomorrow morning and say, we have a new budget. We decide to tax you here, tax you there, tax you here, tax you there, tax you here. The UIC has a different approach. What is that approach, Mr. Neil?
Um, I was going to mention it when I heard you talking about the slavery because we're actually underweight slavery. No, oh, the UIC, and this is actually one of my favorite um, points on the manifesto about the about financial liberty. No, under the UIC system, there are two taxes. We propose that other taxes, such as the land tax, are unjust. So Jamaica will be run on two taxes. One is a 10% income tax. You take 90% of your pay. Whatever you work for, you have the right to keep your own. But you know, country run on tax. So we say 10%. And we limit the government spending to 10% of your income tax and the 10% of the sales tax, which is which is the GCT now. However, the 10% sales tax will be reserved for to alleviate poverty, ensuring that those persons who are less well resourced have access to education, housing, healthcare, and I'm missing something. Um,
The environment and
oh yeah, the environment and also uh, this is an this part of it I especially like Jamaica never need to have borrow no money and we have to pay back now because a part of that 10% will be reserved for emergency. So it would accumulate over time so that when Jamaica needs money, Jamaica uses its own money to save itself.
Can you
So,
imagine?
yes.
Can you imagine? Here's a Jamaica that we envision that we're going to create. Um, as you said, Mr. Neil, a Jamaica where you're entitled by law to always get 90% of what you earn in your hand to spend as you see fit. That's number one. And 10% is all that's needed to run the core of government, because government will be smaller, more efficient, more effective to give you all the public goods and services, the police, the justice system, the roads, all that kind of stuff. And I'm an accountant, I've done the math. That's one. The next 10% now, which is the sales tax, is a special tax. It's a tax which recognizes that for years we have been made poor, some of us more than others, and we have to correct that poverty. We won't have poverty forever, so that 10% will not always be needed to alleviate poverty. In the early years, it's going to work to quickly bring our people up to standard, meaning proper housing. So no more zinc fence and ghettos and garrisons and squatting communities. Now you have all Jamaicans having access to decent quality housing. That's number one. Every student having access to the best possible education to as far as they can achieve. So you're not limited because of money. So like how you were limited and you couldn't become medical doctor because your parents only have teacher training money. Now a young boy like you with your abilities and skills would not have been denied. You would have now had full access. If you can go PhD, go PhD, masters, go masters, undergraduate, go undergraduate. And your health would have been monitored pre-birth, prenatal care, to make sure that our most important asset, our people, more valuable than the land, more valuable than the water, more valuable than bauxite, the people is what we're going to invest in, every child. So we want your mother and father to eat well. We want the sperm to be rich and good. We want the egg to be rich and good. And when the two come together, we want the child to be rich mentally and good. And we work now to build this child into the best possible human being he or she can be. And from there now, you find that Jamaica will move from what it is today, which is poverty stricken, even though others are stealing the wealth. It's going to move from that to a nation no less than Singapore, where the vast majority are high income earners, and we will have to import people to do the lesser jobs. And as that transition happens, the differential that you mentioned, Mr. Neil, which is now the difference of the 10%, will accumulate more and more and more and more. So we have a sovereign wealth fund that we will have available at any time if there's a national emergency, big earthquake, big hurricane, big storm. We're not have to borrow. We have the money. If there's an epidemic, like we're attacked by some kind of virus or whatever, man-made or otherwise, we have the reserves to deal with that. And we'd have a government that is equipped by law and financially to help us, to work with us, to defend us, to protect us, but never to violate any one of our rights at all in the process. That's how it goes.
Exactly. And hold on, viewers, I don't know on this. Is this not a Jamaica that you want? I don't know how anybody can see the system that we propose, the system that we ask everyone to come on board and help us to build. And you just can't just sit down and wait. Wait on what?
Exactly.
Mr. Patterson cannot do it by himself. I cannot do it by myself. The candidates that are presented cannot do it by themselves. This takes the work of a team, of a national team. I cannot put myself in government office. And to make it clear, people, when we say vote UIC, I don't mean vote for me. I don't even mean vote for Mr. Patterson. Well, he's not a candidate now, but if he were, I don't necessarily mean vote for Mr. Patterson specifically, though he is the founder of the system, man should be a national hero, but that aside, we are saying the best possible people to fill the seats. I am here right now, but what if there is a better person for the seat? We are saying, help us to find the best persons. But
And fund and fund
fund, it takes
because
money to care.
I want to correct you, Mr. Neil, on that one.
Mhm.
I know why we say it. We say it takes cash to clear, and Mr. Craig loves to say it too. It doesn't take cash to clear, but it takes cash to pay for the clearing.
Well,
No, but this key thing I want to point out to us, which is very important. If we, the people, do not pay for the message of the UIC to make it to the people, the PSOJ oligarchs will pay for the message of the colonial ideologies to
as
get
they
to
have
the people.
been doing.
And they have been doing it. In this coming election, mark my words, the PSOJ oligarchs will be donating $500 million or more to ensure that you hear nothing about the UIC and that you only hear about the JLP and PNP. They will give practically equal amounts to each of the two parties. Okay? $500 million. We in the UIC don't need 500. We'll take it if you give it to us. But we don't need 500 million. All we're asking for is 1,000 Jamaicans abroad in the USA, Britain, Canada, give 25 US dollars. 1,000 Jamaican a yard, give $1,000 per month. Give us that, and we will use the little that you have given us to reach all 63 constituencies. We won't win all of them, but we'll have qualified and competent persons in those constituencies. And let me tell you this, I, Joseph L. Patterson, will not support any candidate who lacks the capacity to represent him or herself and to represent the people. If you cannot represent yourself, meaning the UIC has a process and you can come into that process and provide your resume, provide your bio, go on the system and enter your information without somebody holding your hand and dragging you and begging you to follow the process. If you cannot handle yourself as an applicant to be a candidate, me not see how you can be a candidate after that process. If you cannot participate in the work of the UIC administratively, organizationally, practically, if you cannot be available and present to participate in the things that we need to do to build a movement, I don't see why you should be on the slate as a candidate for the UIC. And even if you're able to help with the groundwork, if you do not have the credentials, meaning the know-how to analyze, forecast, comprehend, communicate, if you don't have that, maybe you have a different role to play in the UIC, which is fine because we all can't fit all the roles. Somebody have to be the man who mix the mortar. Somebody have to carry it in the wheelbarrow. Another person might be better able at laying the blocks. Somebody else is good at steel work. Another person is good with roofing. A different man good with tiling. Another man can do the plumbing. And one can do the electrical. We all know how to do everything. So you might not be qualified or competent to be a candidate. So don't get mad when we say, no, you're not fit for this, but for this. Don't go cuss me now. Don't go out there and say all kind of bad things about me now and call Mr. Patterson dictator and all of that. I'm not the president anymore, so you can't call me that anymore. But but don't go and discredit the movement just because it is clear to those who have been invested with the leadership of the movement to say to you, Mr. So and so or Miss so and so, we love you, we appreciate you, we respect you, but based on your performance to date, based on how you have handled yourself, we see that you might be better suited to fix the roof, but not to do the plumbing, or to do the electrical, but not the tiling. or to mix the mortar, but not to carry it in the barrel. Please appreciate that that is the nature of organizations. We have to go through processes. We have to make tough decisions. We have to try to put the right people in the right place to get the work done. Please, may I beg you now, stop attacking the UIC because you don't get what you want out of it. Back to you, Mr. Neil. Next question. You ready?
Yes.
All right. Here's the next question. Please, Mr. Neil, tell us what are the core values of the UIC and how those values reflect in your own value system.
All right. So the core values of the UIC, they were mentioned briefly during our conversation. Um, there is individual sovereignty and personal responsibility. There is safe, clean, and orderly society, and there is equal opportunities, equal rights, and I'm missing another equal.
Equal
Um,
opportunity, equal justice, and equal rights. You got that, right?
yes,
Yes.
yes. All right. So those are the core values. Now,
Them slow for me, Mr. Neil, because sometimes we say them so fast because we hear them every day. You and I know it so well. Let's just walk people through those values and help us to understand what them really mean.
all right. So core values are really what we are centered around. What is it that all the even the manifesto, the constitution, and I hope that people have checked out the constitution of the US. But that's the different plans that we have are guided by a set of um, values and certain ideas, and these are what is it that motivates us and what we want to achieve. We want individual sovereignty, as in you are a sovereign person, you are yours. You have the right to make decisions on behalf of yourself, and nobody has the right to violate your right to do with yourself as you wish. Nobody has the right to limit your potential. Because you are sovereign, you have the right to be the best that you can be. And you deserve to have an environment, a country that serves the development of your best self because you are sovereign. You are sacred in your existence. Um, when we speak of personal responsibility, we are saying that just as you should be respected because by existing you are sacred, by existing you have the right to be the best that you can be and to make decisions on behalf of yourself and to even be informed of the best options available to do that. You also have the duty to ensure that everyone within your circle, everybody that you meet, is given this right, and you allow them to be their best selves and not to be any inhibition to their success, not to be any inhibition or blockage or challenge to the development of your country as an entire collective and as it relates to each individual that comprises it. So you have the duty, when you talk about personal responsibility, to make Jamaica better by being the best of yourself and ensuring that you do not prevent anybody in any way from being the best of themselves and having the right to do with themselves as they
I
wish.
love that. I love the way you said that, Mr. Neil. Make Jamaica better by being the best that you can be
Yeah.
and not be an obstruction to anybody else. Can you imagine? If that principle, I often thought, Mr. Neil, if in our school system our children learn this basic ideology of the UIC, you have the right, no, this is what the way the child would learn it. I have the right to do whatever I want with my life, with my freedom or liberty, and with my property, provided I do not use force or fraud to infringe on the life or the liberty or the property of somebody else. Can you imagine every child from basic school to primary school to high school to university to postgraduate studies internalize that concept that they have the right to do whatever they want with their life, with their liberty, or with their property, provided they never use force or fraud to infringe on the life, the liberty, or the property rights of anybody else. What would that do for us as a country, Mr. Neil?
I don't think there are even any words to describe what it would be like. Because we often speak of what Singapore is like, and some persons see the United States as the measure of what better looks like. But if we were supposed to really actualize the core values and the philosophy of the UIC, we would pass out USA, and
And
Singapore.
Singapore.
The quality of life in Jamaica would be superb.
Yes. Not even Singapore would be able to compare to us. And by the way, Singapore, just to stick up in, Singapore went from 550 US dollars per annum, per person in GDP, the same amount as the Jamaica in 1965. They have gone from 550 US dollars in GDP output, economic output per person in 1965 to well over 85,000 US dollars per person today, while Jamaica is still stuck somewhere between 4, 5, and 8,000 US dollars after all that time. Now, the UIC model would cause the output of Jamaica to more than double what UIC is doing today. If this value system becomes the norm, if the ideals of a meritocracy that fully protects your sovereignty, that gives you the kind of safe, clean, and orderly environment you need to self actualize, Jamaica would be a model. In fact, the entire world would be marveling at our version of democracy, our version of a republic, our version of economics, our version of education, our version of healthcare. Just think about it. In our system of healthcare, with the UIC model of freedom, you will now have all the avenues of healthcare being allowed. You would not have a healthcare system which is skewed towards the Western pharmaceutical medical solution only, and which denies the citizens access to and awareness of a broader range of healthcare, healthy way of living, and healthy way of healing. Similarly, our education would have expanded the minds of our people now to have not a Western view of themselves and the world, but a true view of themselves and the world, being able to weigh different approaches. In the issue of Israel versus Hamas, our view would be very different. We would be talking about not whether Israel is right or Hamas is right, or whether Hamas is terrorist or Israel is Zionist. Instead, we'll be talking about the right of every single individual to be free. We'll be talking about a society where you can be a Zionist if you want, but it must not involve you using force or fraud against an Hamas. And an Hamas or a Palestinian not being able to. So now you can live, you can coexist, and you would respect the indigenous property rights of the various persons
Yeah.
involved. You understand? And so now the conflict isn't muddled by all the noise. You can now get to the heart of the problem and deal with it at a human level, at an individual level, which then will work out collectively and bring us all on board. So your Palestinianness doesn't make you wrong or right. Your Israelness or Jewishness doesn't make you wrong or right. But your individuality as a person that must be respected as sovereign will now allow you to engage in negotiations that respects those basic parameters.
Yes, and then we would see that there would be no need for war. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah. But to backtrack with the when you were speaking of not being limited by the Western medicine, Western education, having more options open, that is important to me for two reasons. Um, the first, we saw this debacle, this whole heap of nastiness, let me just put in layman terms, that occurred for 2 years between 2020 and 2022, where the government forced people to make a medical choice in which their choices were limited. Uh, some doctors spoke out about against it, saying that there were better treatments. One drug that was named was ivermectin, among others, that worked for others. These drugs were verified by scientists and doctors, but yet the government, because of profit, limited the people's option and caused many people to die, because there have been instances in which alternative medicine have helped persons to recover or to resist the disease that was going around. And the government knew this because the UIC even sent them certain information. They know doctors have spoken out, and instead of listening, they silenced them and robbed them of jobs. And
And
it's genocide.
it's because the government is controlled by big business or colonial interests, corporate entities outside Jamaica. If the government was independent of big business, independent of special interests, independent of the colonial powers, meaning by the nature of our constitution, it has no such power. You understand? So it's only because the current constitution gives the government the power to do this to us why they were able to do it. Because if the constitution says no, when it comes on to the right of your citizens to choose what to do with their bodies and to choose what to do with their communicate. For example, you saw that they tried to deny us access to information, right? And
Yes,
and censor people. You can't talk. In a UIC system, we would have been the only country in the world where the press would be completely free, meaning the press, I mean every press, because everybody now becomes a communicator. So everybody will be able to communicate. We're wrong or right. Whether you agree with their position or not, they'll be able to share it. And it's for you to decide whether you want to take it as credible or not. The government would have its role to share what it knows, but it couldn't stop you from sharing, nor seek to punish you, nor could employers now be using their position as employers to violate your right to choose what you're going to do medically, directly or indirectly. So really, the UIC would have been back in 2020 and 21 and 20 the freest nation on earth if we were a UIC country. If Jamaica was following the principle of the UIC, the freedom, the level of freedom would have been. Now, some people say, but wait a minute, wouldn't that be dangerous? How would it be dangerous? Every Jamaican could have decided, do I want to take ivermectin or not?
yes,
Do I want to take this herbal solution? Because a person could have come up and say, here's what you can do. I remember there's a lady, Paula Erla. She had very
yes,
good solutions. Just imagine nobody would have stifled her or caused people to be afraid to hear what she had to say. And she could just share freely. You don't have to take it. And guess what? Our people under a UIC governance, their education level would have been such that they can, in fact, analyze and make good decisions. We don't have to force anybody into anything because now we have empowered them with the knowledge to be able to think and reason and make good decisions for themselves, financially, health-wise, education-wise. The people will now be free to think and choose. Why are they afraid of us thinking? Why are they afraid of us having the freedom to choose, the freedom to speak, the freedom to share, the freedom to move? Why do they want to lock you down? If you want, let's say the solution to this was to social distance. Don't go nowhere. Okay? The best solution was don't go nowhere. Stay home in your yard and whatever. That's the solution. But I choose to go out and go and walk. Nobody can stop me because I'm free to do it. And we're all looking on and we see that a few people went out and walk and then dropped dead. What do you think the rest of us would do?
we're not going anywhere.
Because we see say a man go walk it. No, during the stuff, I walk up and down. I talk to people. I deal with stuff. I go to help the elderly, provided them, whatever. And so nothing happened to me. I in fact contracted something which mimicked what they said the virus would do, and I did all of my own homemade remedies the way my wife and I chose. We suffered the aches and pains like anybody else, and we came through just fine. Now, if we had gone to the hospital and depended on them, maybe we would have died.
Yes, that's what had happened to many persons, including my.
Exactly.
Uh-huh.
But I understood that this was a congestion thing and all of that, and I did the stuff that would relieve that would prevent that. I also did my due diligence in terms of hygiene, which we should do anyway. You don't need for COVID to come for you to be hygienic. Wash your hand, man. You know what I mean? Don't go home from a hard day's work and just go home with your dirty clothes and just throw it up on the bed.
Mhm.
That makes logical sense. So we can do things without being forced by any human God. The only God you should have is the one that you select for yourself. So if you select your God, select your God. But don't force me to follow your God. So government must not be our God. But I digress. We have a few minutes, Mr. Chase. Let's get on quickly. Last point. I have three more questions for you. Let me see what they are. Did you finish your point though? You finished your point that you're making?
Oh, I was just going to state about the health, the second point that
Mhm.
I have interest in it because of a kind of complementary alternative health that I am studying. It benefits many people in many other countries, but in Jamaica, these practitioners are not licensed or recognized
Mhm.
legally, though they may be of benefit to the citizens. Now, I think that's a grave mistake. And when we allow people who are properly certified and trained to practice medicine that has been verified, we allow the citizens more options to benefit their health. So I think we need to really rethink our colonial mindset and allow for the UIC to free Jamaica for all of us.
Absolutely. Can you imagine we because we free ourselves, we now discover many things that we have forgotten from our ancestors. We now
Mhm.
rediscover all of our herbs. We don't need to import anymore of their pharmaceutical foolishness. And by the way, don't get me wrong. There is a place for whatever others are offering. I have no problem with another country or other people developing whatever they develop and offer it, and people are free to choose. But don't stop us.
Exactly.
Don't let, because I'm going to say it this way, forgive me, because I'm not racist or anything, but we can't have the mindset that if it's white, it's right. You understand? And if it's black, it's wrong. We have to open up our minds now and say, hold on, man, let's allow we to create. Let's allow we to produce. We trusted our politician and they destroy our farming sector. We trusted them, they destroy sugar. We trusted them, they destroy banana. We trusted them, they destroy the railway system. They destroy our energy sector. Everything that we trust them with, them destroy. But let's move on. The UIC has a very principled approach to manifesto. As you know, the other parties, for them, manifesto is a marketing tool. So every election, they come up with a new manifesto to market to the people, and they'll offer gimmicks: free water, electricity rebate, um, move the threshold in the taxes, they get more and less and whatever, promises of all kind of stuff. That's their approach, and it's about time we understand it now. Election time, silly season, gimmickry. So they'll go in a back room and come up with some gimmick plans and see how we can use that to fool them up and win the election. The UIC's approach is very different. We prefer to have a clear manifesto that lets you understand exactly what we're about. It speaks to our values, it speaks to our principle, it speaks to our plan, which is in season every year without an election being called or not. This manifesto stands firm as what we plan for Jamaica. So you can study it for the entire 4 to 5 years before election, question it fully, and see if this is what you want for your Jamaica. Do you support that form of manifesto? And what are three elements from it that you think really resonate with you as a candidate?
So I got a freebie because I spoke about one earlier about the financial liberty. So I'll take three more. I
Yes.
expected your question, and for the entire day I was wondering which three, and I could not choose just three. But thank you for giving me the freebie earlier. Just repeating it, that the 10% income tax and the 10% sale tax for humanitarian, environment, emergencies. So I get three more. All right. So one point on the Constitution, as you were the manifesto, that I really value and resonates with me is the one of self ownership. And,
Yes.
I think that speaks for itself. We own ourselves. It is really sad that this has to be an item in a manifesto uh, for people to realize that you own yourself. We belong to ourselves. Now, nobody has the right to demand that we do with ourselves anything other than what we choose to do with ourselves. So self ownership is very dear to me, and it became very apparent during the COVID-19 pandemic period that we do not own ourselves. And I said, if we have this sort of government, we are a man who own most of the shares in the World Health Organization to make a little money can tell the World Health Organization to declare a pandemic. And then because of that, I cannot go to worship where I want to, because remember, people, the church and they closed to, so you could not even go to church and worship. So worshiping of God is not confined to a particular building. You can do it from home. It should not be any person's decision to stop you from going to church. You must decide whether you want to worship at your home or at the temple. You must decide whether you want to close your business for the day or not. So people, they were telling us when to close our businesses. They were telling us when to go to. Me a picnic? What kind of brightness that? And then more than that, you telling me with your bright self, want me to put in my evenings, it must be bright on your face. So we own ourselves, and it should be recognized that people, if you never know before, yourself is yours, not the government. So that resonates with me. Um, Another principle that resonates with me from the manifesto is that of education. Should I combine education and health, being on the free market? Let
Sure.
me cheat and combine the two into one. No, the what we find now is that the education is very poor because of the model that we adopt. The government controls the public sector, and the private sector doesn't really have a chance to compete because of everything in Jamaica is colonial, even the education system. The colonized education system, they own it, it's tyranny. So your child learns what the government wants your child to learn. Your child does not know how to pay taxes. I had to have a class with some cadets today. They did not know how much of their money they would lose once they enter the working world. They don't know anything about it. We just dash them out there, expect them to fend for themselves. Um, our, our children don't know how to manage their emotions. That should be a part of the curriculum. We are preparing children for life, but we have no say in how that place where we send them to learn to get prepared for life. We have no say in what they learn there.
Stick
Um,
up, stick up in. This is very important. I want to just delve in a little. So in our current system, our students just go to school and learn whatever the government say. I've never seen a debate or discussion in Jamaica in any serious way talking about what are we really teaching our children. Does this make sense? Now, Jamaica is about 25 years behind other countries in the world when it comes down to certain key things. So, for example, our students have no hope at all in the new AI environment, those who are graduating. They're completely unprepared for the AI environment. The Prime Minister is only recently now talking about coding in school, for example. So coding is like ABC. Coding, is like to be able to understand how important software engineering is and how this lends itself to all the things we do. I'll give you a quick example. When I left Jamaica and went to Canada to live as a young man, I went there and applied for jobs, and I told the people there that I know how to use a lathe. I told them I'm good, I know everything because I use lathe in my school and I can use a lathe, I'm good, whatever. And they keep turning me down. And one guy decided to humor me and he says, "Come with me." And he took me to the back where they had the factory and stuff. And he says, "Can you show me a lathe back here?" And I'm looking and I'm not seeing any lathe anywhere in the room. And then he said to me, "That's a lathe right there." I was also, "Oh, that doesn't look like a lathe." And he walks up and he says, "Can you produce something as a block of metal?" And he said, "You say you know how to use a lathe, produce something out of this for me." I didn't know where to begin because everything was key. It's a keyboard and green panels and computer screens and whatever. And then that we learned when we go to school in Jamaica. And then the fellow put the block of metal in. He pressed a few buttons on a PLC, that's a programmable logic circuit. And within a few minutes, what would have taken me or any other person who went to the same school as I did a day or two to do was done in about 3 to 5 minutes with absolute precision. And I was dumbstruck. But that was a very kind gentleman because he showed me that I didn't have a clue what I was doing. Not because I didn't go to school and learn, but I was light years behind the technology. So what I thought I was learning as being there, I was way behind. Now, that's where Jamaicans are today.
Yeah.
Our students graduating today are not ready for the economy of today. They're ready for the economy 20, 30 years ago. That economy is gone. And so what we're faced with now is high unemployment, real employment. There are many persons who have nominal jobs, which are low paying jobs, which is why right now you're going to see many foreclosures happening because more and more people will be laid off, or the income they're earning will not match the cost of the mortgage that they're carrying. So they're going to default on their car loans, default on their mortgages. Jamaica is going to have a high concentration of paid slaves. I call them wage slaves. So they're going to be way down here. What they're earning is only marginal compared to the cost of living. And the country, they're going to eventually give up on the workforce. And the way you count unemployment in the modern context is if a person has given up looking for work, they're not counted towards the unemployed. So your unemployment rate now is a fake number. And that's what the Prime Minister is boasting about, his fake unemployment rate of 3.something%. It's really far more. Underemployment is even bigger, right?
Yeah.
And so you have underemployment, you have real unemployment if you were to factor in the people. Then you have the fact that the wage, what the kind of work we're prepared for, the majority of our people, we're prepared for work that no longer exists and will not exist anymore. Work is no longer labor intensive. Work is mental intensive. And those persons who do not have the requisite mental development, let alone the knowledge, because one thing, you might, for example, say a person who have the mental development can relearn. But you can't take a person, for example, who doesn't understand the rudiments of higher level thinking and higher level analysis and expect them to relearn. They can't relearn. They never learned in the first place. They don't have what it takes to learn. So you're going to have a large concentration of persons, which we now have, who do not have the skills. And guess what? They can't export either because they're not needed in the labor export. They're not needed there either because even cleaning the bathroom will soon become a matter for a robot.
It has started.
Yes. So we don't need you for janitorial work anymore. With burger flipping will become a matter of a robot. And so where you had maybe 5 persons working a counter, little from now at Juicy Beef and Burger King, you will have one person who is just monitoring the robot to see if anything is going wrong, to radio the brighter person to fix it quickly. So we're going to have a highly unemployed and underemployed world for which we have not been prepared. So stay tuned. Continue, sir.
And that is precisely why this point is so important to me. Jamaica is in trouble. School is not preparing our students for life, neither in Jamaica nor in countries outside of Jamaica.
Correct.
It is troubling. All right. I've been thinking whether I should speak on crime and justice or the true representative government.
Take
As I
the
said,
latter. Take the
I,
latter because the other one is too long and laborious to go
all
through.
right, yeah, all right. So the true representative government, the power of this one. No, we would have spoken about this in previous lives and town halls already. How our government system is set up, where um, people enter politics or political office through a very careful and analyzed process that does not allow for any corruption or nepotism. So you apply for the position, whether you want to be a community representative, what we call MP now, or you want to be a senator, and so forth. You would have to do a test, a basic test, governance test that shows that you understand the basics of economics and governance and administration and so forth, and civics, so to show that you are a good candidate for the position. You have passed the test. You will be vetted publicly and audited publicly so that the citizens will know just who they will be voting for should you pass that process. So already we start weeding out those persons who are questionable before they even go in the office. So you go through that process, the test, the vetting, the interview, the auditing, checking out your background, your assets. So we don't have what's going on now, where people have to be declaring their assets after the fact and withholding the reporting. That's already done before you step in. And after you pass that process, you may be nominated, then elected, and there is no consideration of party. So it's not like you're getting in because you are a party faithful. You will be elected based on your merit, on your credentials. That already sets up the system to get rid of a lot of corruption that is in the present governance model. Now, you are elected as a community representative. You may be elected as a senator. You have no direct control. You have no control of the money. You can't touch people money. So already, the thieving that's going on, that 1 billion US per year that gone outside, that erased already because no MP can touch it. So that means Jamaica automatically is richer, and the checks and balances in the system will ensure that wasted money, all of that whole heap of hundreds of trillions of Jamaican dollars is used for the benefits of Jamaicans. No, I spoke to this already, where we have ministers of government in the cabinet who are not qualified to sit where they sit. How can we have efficient government ministries and departments if the persons who are responsible for them don't know what on earth they're doing? Why do we need to spend money that is not necessary to hire advisors to these people who don't know what they're doing? Save money now. What we need to do then, as the UIC proposed, is the executive through the president and the vice presidents who are also elected, people choose them, will nominate individuals who are qualified, whether in Jamaica or overseas. And we know that based on the current system, most of them overseas. But Jamaicans for Jamaica. Those who are qualified, who have the experience, the experts in the subject matter, and are nominated. Then they are vetted, go through the nitty gritty. Is this person worthy? The Senate, who is elected again by the people, will vet them publicly so people can see exactly who it is. that is going to be their minister or their whatever term we use, whether it's secretary as is used in US, or we have our own term. And then the members of parliament now, or the community representatives who we would have voted to represent in our constituencies, these are honest people, or as honest as can be, based on the system we already set up that they have to go through, will now elect, not on a partisan level, because no JNP, PNP, UIC, whichever P may come, it doesn't have any importance. It doesn't factor into anything. It's just these people based on their credentials, based on what the result of the vetting process is in the Senate. The elected MPs or community reps now elect, vote for the persons who would have passed through the vetting, who are already qualified to become the ministers. And now, since these members of the legislature, the Senate, the senators, and the community reps don't have any direct role, they don't have any role at all in the executive. No, they are now well suited to monitor the people in the executive. What happens now is the same MP them are the ones who are appointed by the Prime Minister to sit as ministers. And they, as members of parliament, are responsible for holding themselves accountable. Or you can put a man in a position where one heap of money there and have him hold himself accountable for how him spend the money. That don't make any sense. And Jamaicans should have said this is foolishness for a long time. But maybe we did not know. And now UIC is telling you we cannot have put butter a puss mouth and expect puss to control himself. We
Okay.
must have somebody and look on the puss, and if you put a whip on the puss back when the puss teeth the butter and lock the cupboard so the puss can't teeth the butter.
Absolutely.
So that's what we're saying. So this governance system is it's a true representative governance system, because the people choose their representatives. It's not no party membership or leadership that choose them for you. It is
So,
you who elect,
so
and you
listen,
know exactly what you're voting for. Yes.
there are some key elements that you have mentioned. I want to just go over for the benefit of our audience, because sometimes when people start to hear what you're talking about, their eyes may glaze over because it is so, it comes across as technical, but it's not technical. We want to, what we're doing is really simple, right? It's very simple. So right now, the people don't elect their head of government. The head of government comes from the party that wins the most seats. That's number one, right?
Yeah.
The UIC says, no way. Your head of government must be elected by the people. Your chief executive officer, we call it a president. Your chief executive officer, the person who is going to be responsible, like the general manager, the CEO for the country, must be elected by the people, all the people. So that position, the president is elected across Jamaica. That's a UIC position, number one. Number two, the executive branch of government, you need to have a team of persons who might run the country from an executive standpoint. So what we say is this: you're going to have three vice presidents, one for each of the three counties, again elected by the people. So each county, Cornwall, which is made up of what? What make up Cornwall again? The parishes.
St. Lawn, St. James, Hanover, Westmoreland, St. Elizabeth.
Right. So five parishes make up the county of Cornwall. Those five parishes would elect one vice president. Middlesex, which is made up of what? St. Mary,
Trenton, Clarendon, Manchester, um,
Catherine.
there's St. Catherine. Yeah.
So five of them there as well. And Surrey, which is made up of Kingston, Portland, St. Thomas, St.
St.
Andrew,
Andrew.
would elect one. So now you have the president and you have three vice presidents making up the core executive. And when the president was running, he would have two running mates. One would be a general secretary, which is like your HR director, right? Chief of staff, the person who will oversee all the hiring process and then making sure coordination happens. A second person, which is the treasury secretary, which is your Minister of Finance. So when the president run, that person will have two running mates with him that we can ask question and check them out and see if him have sense. Did he pick somebody who is sensible to be Minister of Finance? And did he pick somebody who is sensible to take care of the HR function? So we're assessing his or her capacity to judge, to make good judgment of people and so on. And then the three vice president now will be counterbalancing. So in the core executive, you have 6 people: president, treasury secretary, general secretary, 3 vice president who are elected independent of the president. So when they meet together now, the 6 of them meet together, it's independent thinking coming together here, so right? And a 3 against 3, so you have to get consensus now. You understand me? Now, so they're working together. Those 6 persons would then nominate the other ministries. So they'll say, okay, I want to nominate this person for Ministry of Health, this person for Ministry of whatever. And whoever they're nominating, they know say, it now they just fly so. The law will say the person must have requisite competencies that makes them suitable to hold those positions. And so now in your nomination, you have to justify, you have to show a justification. That now goes to the Senate. And because you have done that, the senators now, they now acting on behalf of the people, because the senators now is 1 per parish. So every parish now is a part of this discussion to look at, is this person qualified to be health minister? Is this person qualified to be transportation minister or qualified to be minister of national security? So they evaluate them. But why are they able to evaluate them independently? Because they're not associated with the president in any way that prevents them from acting independently, because he has no big stick over them. In the current system, the prime minister have a big stick over the majority of senators because of him appoint them. And he has a big stick over the MPs because the majority of his party is what form the government, the governing body. And if them don't walk straight according to him, then him say, me now make a run next time, me now approve you to run as a candidate next time, and make a withdraw funds from, make sure you can't get the funding from the party to run. So every MP on the government side is afraid of the prime minister, unless him have something on the prime minister. And every senator on the government side is afraid of the prime minister because all of them want a plump position. But if you don't have that, they're not free to think. So with the UIC system, the senators are elected, they're not appointed. So now you see we have a nuclear executive which has independence built into it and checks and balance into it. You have a Senate which is independent, so you have checks and balance there. So now, and because each of them are independent of each other, because they're representing their constituency, their parishes. So the St. Mary senator, I look out for St. Mary. And the Westmoreland senator, I look out for Westmoreland. And so now you have your senators being sensible and independent and not afraid of nobody, except their constituents. In the House now, which you rightly said, the community representatives, they are also elected. Now, what makes them all independent is that the funding for their campaign does not come from the party, does not come from the PSOJ oligarchy, does not come from the colonial masters. The funding for their campaign comes from the public coffers. And the only way they get that money is if they qualify to run. And the only way they're going to be elected is if their constituents elect them. They don't have no money to go buy the vote. They now have the label of their party as the strong positioning, because that won't matter, because once you now buy vote in a party, label diminish. You understand? So now what will happen is your Senate independent of the executive, your House is independent of the executive. Even within the executive, the VPs are independent of the president and can hold him or her accountable and ask tough questions and whatever. And so now you have 3 bodies which have to work together, but none of them has power over the other. And what you will now have is the people of each of those constituents watching closely now to see how you manage your affair. How did you vote? How did you explain yourself why you approve this person for that position? And we have now made it illegal for anybody to donate to anybody to run for office. It's illegal. So the big company of the PSOJ can't give a 30 million to somebody. That's illegal. So whether the candidate is poor like me or rich like you, it no matter because the wealthy are getting an advantage over the poor because they're rich, and the poor is not disadvantaged because he's poor. As long as they meet the qualification to run, both of them will get the same access to newspaper, radio, television, internet, town hall meetings, debates. And if you have a walk through the community, all of them are walk through the community, paid for by the public. So every candidate has the same equal opportunity to engage with the constituents. And instead of now being judged by the party you're affiliated with or how much money the party they have, you're going to be judged based on the content of your character, the substance of your message, and how effective you are at communicating that, not for lack of money, but for your own innate ability to resonate with the constituents. It means, Mr. Chase, that under our system, anybody can run for office and win,
Exactly.
even if them don't have a cent to them name.
Right.
What a
All right.
system.
And we need to implement this system.
Yes. Now, somebody wants us to take questions from the floor, so let's see if we can take a few questions here quickly. One question is, because of some changes that was made to how you donate, if you paying your donation by PayPal and you're doing so over 2 years, do you need to cancel and redo? Thank you, Enos. Here's the thing. Prior to very recently, the PayPal account we had belonged to my wife and it was donated to the UIC. We have now recently gotten a PayPal account in the name of the UIC. And so if you are on the old PayPal account, you would have gotten a call from Miss Williams or Miss Abdul advising you to cancel your recurring donation on the old PayPal and now set up a new recurring donation on the new PayPal. So just whatever you had from before, cancel it and just go back on the system now and set up a new one, and all will be good. So all your donations will now be going directly into an account in the name of the UIC, and you will no longer be sending any money to that old account that is no longer being used for UIC purposes. All right? Good question, and thank you for it. Let's take another question, Mr. Neil. Let me see if I see. Next one, Mr. Neil. I may have missed this, but can you tell us about your constituency and your current activity in that community? Go ahead, sir.
All right. My constituency is St. Mary Western. My activities in the constituency are primarily as it regards youth development. Um, I have some youth groups where I'm teaching financial responsibility, teaching them about civics, how the country is run, and showing them a better way. Um, so I propose the UIC system of governance, and they give their thoughts on it. Um, they have seen where it's important now for young people to be more interested in politics. Um, Apart from the youth engagement, also financial literacy, teaching them about entrepreneurship and so forth. Apart from that, I am seeking team members to help spread the word. Um, I was supposed to talk about my career, my job. I teach online, plus I'm also a security officer, school security officer. I work primarily on weekends and some weeknights. And I also have a business through which I do touch therapy, life coaching. That's the acupressure mixed with life coaching and then studying. So my time on the ground is limited. So I depend on team members to spread the word when I can. So I'm building my team with very hard work, people want money.
What
They, they agree with the USC policies and principles. Yeah, man, I this one, but you know, say have a run a thing. Yeah. But still, um, they are spreading the word. Some people ready to vote, but the thing is now we have more people ready to vote than people ready to work. And the challenge is that if you don't work, then there is nobody to vote for. So we're spreading the word, but we need more people to spread the word instead of saying you have the vote.
mm.
We need
Mr.
more people donating instead of
Mhm.
saying you have the vote. So that is what's going on in my constituency.
Exactly. Can you imagine, Mr. Neil, if you in your constituency you had, let's say you had about 2,000 US dollars, um, let's even say $1,000 per month available to your constituency work, would that make a big difference to
It
you?
would make a tremendous difference. For those people who ask me why we're not seeing UIC on the ground, you would have seen UIC on the ground.
Absolutely.
You would definitely be seeing the UIC on the ground. But we need funding.
One of the questions I normally ask the candidates, and this is the last question, there was a one before that I'm going to come back to. I would ask you, what do you need to win? And I noticed so far when I ask candidates this, they seems to be hesitating. They start to tell us a number of things and dance around and so on. But I'm very direct. And sometimes I get into trouble for this, even within our caucus, because
Yeah.
I prefer to be direct. I don't like to beat around the bush and play nice games. I like to get things out clear. What do you need to win?
All right.
I know what you need, but go ahead. Yes.
All right. So we need money. We need lots of money. Unfortunately, I am not the best equipped to work out exactly. Oh, I don't have the accountant brain like you or something. So exactly how much I'll need is not that I can give an exact figure for it. But um, just look at the fact that to go out in the field and talk to people means that I need transportation money, not for myself only, but for my team. Um,
Refreshment.
we need refreshment. Some people you talk to them and you send them things on the phone, but they want something tangible, so we have to print. We have to print flyers and so forth. So if we look at the fact that the constituency comprises 5 divisions, and the rural divisions are big. The, you can fit six of a urban division into one set division in the rural areas. Um, you'll see that um,
It's
for
massive. The,
it's massive. So
the coverage to cover the area, to go to the different communities. Remember, there are two things that you are hit with when you're doing this work: time and the resources to get to the places, right? So you might have a candidate who has the time. Let's say, for example, a person who is semi-retired. They may have the time, for example, they're just home, which is kind of scary sometimes. They're just home. A person is just home. But where does the gas come from? Where does the vehicle come from? Where does the refreshment come from? Where does the clipboards come from? Where does the paper printing come from? Where are all these support things, the data? If you're going to set up a team, I don't know how many polling divisions you have in your constituency, but in my constituency, we have approximately 30 areas that we need to cover, 4 divisions, 30 within about 127 individual polling stations, but 30 sectors or clusters you have to deal with. Now, it means you have to have a team in each of those clusters. How do you get and maintain a team? If you, Mr. Chase, go in a community and say, yeah, man, come volunteer, all on the come, let's volunteer and, work for this, UIC is good, yeah, yeah, yeah. If when the team come and meet with you, them hungry, right? Meeting with you mean them not gonna look at food. You follow me? When they're meeting with you, them not gonna look at food. And they come to you You don't have a place for them to meet because you can't find a place, because if you get a little place, maybe you find a basic school. The person wants a little something for you to use the space, a little something. You need, if you can get the people them some drink and maybe like a sandwich or something, who's going to prepare it? The person who's going to prepare it, you have to
Yeah,
do something.
that's
Who's going to
great.
who's going to transport it? Who's going to transport you? Again, you have to do something. So we need to understand that this thing requires a minimum level of resources for it to work. So you can't just go organize people. And sometimes when we go far, we start to think we have a different. We think that there's a ton of people waiting to volunteer and they're just going to be able to jump up and down and do whatever. We know you're there far now and you feel different now. You feel like you can just, if some of us, let's say in Canada, we're going to volunteer for something, and we're jumping in the car and drive to the place and we have a good job already and a rent cover or mortgage cover or grocery cover. So the volunteer in Canada or the US is a different volunteer from the volunteer in Jamaica. When it comes to volunteer in rent no cover, mortgage no cover, I'm not sure if I'm have enough money to get grocery, to give bus fare to go to school. So there are all these pressures that are there. So if you can ease the pressure by making sure that they feel comfortable, they have a meal, some people might even need bus fare or taxi fare to go back home, or taxi fare to come to the meeting place and go back home. They might borrow the money and come to the place, and you have to now give them the money to go back. Tell me if I'm lying, Chase. Tell me if I'm a psycho.
No, I want to do that. A whole heap of people get this no longer right now. So we have the people who they're eager and they want the change, but they just don't have it. Some people can even send them children to school, but guess what? They want to spread the UIC word,
Yeah.
and that's the reality. So they want to see the change, but they can't help finance the change. So what we do need the funding to spread the word.
And some might even want to donate. Some might even be able to donate
They want to.
at 250. Some of them might be able to donate at 250. But remember, the 250 is one thing. The rest of the situation is another. Like if you want a team to work for you, and I know this, I run for as an independent candidate in 2016. I have gone through it. I have dealt with the people. I've seen it. I lost supporters because my opponent was able to get them T-shirt and caps and a food. You need to be able to give a man a box lunch or whatever. If you can't do that, the man hungry. Honestly, he's hungry when he come to you and he will look upon you with longing eyes and want to help you, and want to participate. But if you can't even buy him a food, he's struggling. Yes, you want him to know better. You wish that he was able to put that aside and say, boy, something bigger than this. But you have to meet him where he is. And right now, he's hungry. If him come to your meeting and him can't grab a taxi, him have to walk how much miles into the dark, especially where you are and where I am. And then have to walk back in the dark to go. I will not be running for office if I can't raise the money. I've decided. I looked at the situation and I'm like, if I cannot, if my fellow Jamaicans are not willing to donate enough for me to be able to organize my team and support them and give them the support that they need to be able to work, then it means I'll have to mortgage my house and sell my car to do it. Or go into it, and forgive me, go into it knowing that I must lose. Like I'm gonna go and I know I must lose because I know, this is me, from my own experience and my analysis, you cannot win an election if you can't put a team together in each of the polling divisions. Who will watch the box for you? Who will shepherd your people in? Who is going to be inside as an agent working for you, knowing that at a minimum they're working for you, you were able to send them lunch, you were able to give them transport to get to the polling station and get back home at end of night after they travel with your box, go wherever, right, to go count or to drop off or whatever and to secure. And then when they finish, they're stranded on the road because they now have the money to go home and stuff. How they going to work on Mr. Patterson to go do that? You understand? And so if you can't man your polling station, if you don't have two persons on one in the inside, one on the outside, plus everybody needs support, right? They all need a partner. They need somebody to work. You don't want one person working, you want somebody as a backup for each of them. if you can't pay the taxi man even a little gas money to carry some of the people for you from your areas to bring them to the, if you can't do that, then you know you're going to lose. You know, you must have, and I like to be very practical. I like to be strict. I have never deceived or tried to do anything to suggest. I will not suggest to the Jamaican people that we can win an election if they don't give us the money. I will never suggest that. If you don't give us the money, we cannot win. Maybe you have a different way, Mr. Neil, but I know that if they don't give us the money to be able to put together a team and support that team with t-shirts, with caps, with food, with transportation, with data. You want your PD captain to be able to call you or call over and say, okay, we need this support. And if the officer says, well, I can't use my phone credit because, you understand me, you know it, Chase. A man will hold on for him phone because if him use the last bit credit him have, him can't call to see if him daughter make it home or wife make it home. You understand me? So if we're not going to have the money to pay for the phone credit, for us to have our teams communicating and coordinating people and have gas in the vehicles to move people around and food for people to get. And by the way, elections are not won on the day. That's a mistake people make. They think it's on the day you win the election when you're hustling up and down. No, you must know if you win before the day comes. And the way you know if you win is if you have organized your people and they're in their different cell groups across the area. And so they already tell you how much votes they know them have coming in. And then it's just a matter of monitoring that on the day now and seeing delivery. That is the way it works. If we don't come to that reality and just live off the wish and the dream and the hope, and that hope it work out, and we'll watch UIC, but we're not going to fund it for it to happen, we can't win. So, Mr. Neil, correct me if I'm wrong. Tell me that you have a better way. You know something else that I don't know.
The only way I see for the UIC to be competitive, unless the people own the party and those who can't give share with those who can give and encourage them, is for us to sell out to the PSOJ and become one like the colonial system.
And the
People
PSOJ would
will not be the UIC.
let me tell you this: the PSOJ would never fund us because if they did that, it means that they would be saying, we want 3 horses in the race instead of 2. Now, if they fund us, it would be because they spoke to our leadership, not the rank and file, not the people at the front, to our leadership, and made a deal that, listen, we're going to cut you a few millions, But say, if you win, the thing set, yeah, rock the boat. Now, some people told me that I should just take the money and then when I'm elected, do something else. That's how you get killed. Quick. If you are going to take somebody's money and mislead them that you are going to do something else, do something that they agree that you're going to do. And when you get elected, you decide that now that you're elected, you're going to do something else. That is a sure recipe for being killed. I told some people, some of them are now my detractors and they have fought against me. I told them, I said, if you deceive to win, after you win, you're a deceiver still, and you'll become even more of one. So you must first be moral, ethical, and honest before you win, so that when you win, you can still be moral, ethical, and honest. That's some seed.
And I think Jamaicans need to realize that we will take the moral ground, the higher moral ground. We're not deceiving anybody to win because we're not doing it for us. This is not, the US is not a selfish venture. I am not seeking power for myself. Mr. Patterson is not seeking power for himself. He's step down as a candidate there. And we hope he revisits that decision. But either way, none of us here is seeking power for ourselves. We are here to make Jamaica better because we want it better for ourselves, and we are hoping that you want it better for yourself and your family, your associates. Now, we are telling you as it is for you to make the decision to empower yourself through the UIC, working together with us to get into government to bring about a new method of governance. So it doesn't make sense to deceive forward. Um, so you need to know what you need to know to make the best decision for yourself. Uh, I see Angor made a suggestion, Sir Patterson, that when we have our lives, that we inform people about the website where it shows how to donate.
Yes, so
Uh,
it's on the screen right now. You can donate to uicjamaica.com. So everybody, you can go on our website at any time and you can donate there. Go to uicjamaica.com and click on the donate button and you can donate there. There's a question from Delton Hamilton. I'll put it on screen right now. It says, near election time, will some money from the UIC funds be given to candidates and assist with campaigns? Approximately how much each candidate will need for a campaign. Okay, right now, if we had money right now, candidates would get money right now. The way the UIC has always operated, we make decisions collectively. I know over the years, many of you have been told to the contrary that me control money and decide who get what and so on. I have no control over the UIC money. Every decision when I was president and today is made collectively. We as a body decide what to do with every penny. I don't make that decision. I have never made those decisions. We look at optimal ways. Over the past few years, we have focused on building the national profile of the body. So even in my constituency, whatever I did came out of my pocket. Whatever Mr. Neil did came out of his pocket. Whatever Mr. Wright did came out of his pocket. Whatever Dr. Coretta did came out of her pocket. We have been focused on the national project. So when we're doing something national, like the town hall meetings or a walk or a march, we funded those things. So all the monies that was donated to the UIC have gone into those bigger national project. And let's not forget, it's not a whole heap of money. The UIC has never gotten more than $6 million in any given year. And one event alone that is carefully controlled and managed and kept tight, can easily take up three, four, five, $600,000 out of that, right? One little small event. So the UIC has never had any serious money to spend on anything. We have been operating on a shoestring budget. We have done an amazing amount of work on nothing. Over time, though, that wear and tear, right? It dries us out. It sucks our energy. It depletes us. Because if you want, every time we're going to do a project, we have to say, okay, how am I finance this now? We have to look, okay, we have to wait to save up whatever we can. Then say, okay, how do we cut this? How do we cut that? And so it makes doing things very, very, very difficult. The other part is it's easy. Oh, we're gonna have our national convention. Bam, money and fly everywhere because they get it from the PSOJ. So if 1% of the Jamaican population, the 4 million abroad and the 4 yard, if 1% of us were to give 2,500 Jamaican dollars, that's 1% of us. The UIC will be able to do amazing things, but we don't have it. You have not given us that money. And so we've done the best we can from our pockets, from the little that we have gotten that we fully appreciate. But there's only so much we can do unless you give it to us. So candidates will get money based on the collective decision that is made. It's also based on the candidate's performance. So, for example, a candidate who does nothing to help the movement grow and is just waiting out there, waiting. I'm a candidate. Where's the money coming to me? Where's my money? No, I get nothing if I have anything to do with it. Who is going to get something if I have anything to do with it? Is the candidate who is involved. It's like how Mr. Neil is involved in helping to build the movement, and he must get money. Mr. Wright, who is helping to build the movement, he must get money. Dr. Coretta. So whoever the candidates who help the work and don't just sit down in their constituency waiting, when is you say going to give me some money? No, I am in support of those candidates who actively engage. Who you see running UIC Liberty TV? who you see planning events and going out and bringing people to the event. So the other day, for example, we had an event in Kingston on the 22nd of September, and there were a few persons who go by the title as being candidates. And when we show up, they made agreement, they committed that they were going to be there. They made commitment they're going to help with bringing out people. And on the day, them not did it, and then they bring out nobody. Now, to me, that's a candidate that should be fired. And if left to me alone, they would have fired a long time. But it's a collective decision. And so I have to wait until the rest of us come to the full realization that those persons who claim to be candidates but aren't doing the work should not be a candidate. No matter how nice they are, no matter how much we desperately need candidates, if you are not engaged in doing the work, if you are not dependable, if you're not available, if you're not participating in building the UIC, you have no business being a candidate, even if we don't have none. I'd rather have one good candidate, a person whose words and deeds match up, than a million whose words and deeds don't match together. We don't want nobody who have poor work ethics and who are not dependable and reliable to be a candidate in this movement. But I alone can't make that decision. I'm just one vote. But if I have anything to do with it, nobody who is a poor performer in the work of the UIC should be a candidate on our slate coming up. That's my thoughts.
So Hamilton, ask another question. If UIC members can sponsor a candidate.
Absolutely, you can sponsor, anybody can sponsor any candidate, but the money has to come through the UIC. We do not allow persons to give money directly to candidates. If any candidate come to you and telling you to send them money directly, they're a fraud. All funds must go to the UIC, and you can designate it and say this money is designated to Mr. Neal's campaign, or designated to Mr. Wright, or designated to Dr. Coretta, or designated to Mr. Crawford, or designated to whoever. But it must come in so that it's properly accounted for, and the person who it goes to must properly account for how that is spent. Otherwise, they're going to be censured by the organization and reported to the ECJ and possibly arrested for fraud. We have had cases before where we try to do, what do you call it again? Sponsor a candidate, adopt a candidate. And as soon as we connect the two people, the candidate and the potential sponsor, the candidates start begging money for other things and start to getting up. So we have to avoid that. We don't want anybody as candidates who cannot be ethical and moral and responsible in the way they conduct themselves. So we have to be careful with that. So yes, you can sponsor, but the funds must flow through the UIC. All right, final question. Mr. Patterson, hope it is all is well. I saw some time ago that you reached out to other movements in Jamaica to merge and become one party. Can you give some feedback on what became of that request? Yes, very simple. Those persons who have reached out to us and who we have reached out to, they were first of all more interested in getting rid of me as president, as the precursor to any union. So their precursor to a union was to get rid of Mr. Patterson as president. Well, I'm no longer president and they still have problems. So my assessment is that their real objective is to get rid of the UIC. That's my assessment of it. I could be wrong. But what we find is that it takes a lot of energy and time to talk about merging and uniting, but at the end of the day, you don't see tangible, clear, pragmatic approach. We believe the best approach right now, the UIC is the only registered non-colonial party which is here ready to represent the people of Jamaica. So anyone who wants to unite with us, it's very simple. Join the UIC and let us work together to rescue Jamaica. There's no need for us to engage in a whole heap of unnecessary dialogues and discussions that gets us nowhere. For example, one of the main proposal from other groups is that we challenge the election as an alliance, where on the ballot you're going to have UIC and all the other names of all the other things running, and we decide not to run against each other I find that to be a really waste of time. And it will be very confusing for the electorate, and it will cost us in the long run. Let us unite. The UIC was designed for unity, for all Jamaicans who want good governance to come together. So come together now. I'm not the president anymore. Come together. I'm not the president. So now come forward and join the movement and donate and volunteer and help us to transform Jamaica. And let's stop wasting valuable time. We do this every election. Every election, the various small groups just before election get excited about uniting, wasting precious time. What we should have done was get the unity done a year ago, 2 years ago, and spend the rest of our energy preparing for the elections and having quality candidates and raising funds together and stop tearing down each other. You don't hear the UIC going around tearing down any of these parties, yet still they spend so much time, so much energy and effort seeking to tear down the UIC. And most importantly, they try to tear me down. I am not the president now. The UIC is there. Join the movement, donate, volunteer, and let's move on with the people's business. Mr. Neil, you have the last word.
Well, I think you have said it all, Mr. Patterson. What we need is for people to get on board, to join, support, volunteer, donate, get the word out. Even, people might be able to do more than what you can do personally, so that Jamaica can win Jamaica for itself. We want no other external interest or any internal colonial organizations to continue uh, manipulating our lives and our monies, make us more miserable than we are. We know as Jamaicans, we make up our mind as to what kind of country we want, what kind of society we want. So UICJamaica.com is there. You can view the manifesto, type in search bar, education plan, crime response. I think someone asked about the crime plan. It's all there. UIC Liberty TV is there. You can always search UIC Liberty TV, crime, education, and so forth, to see what it is that we have to offer. And if it is that what we have to offer is something that you want, then get on board and help us make it a reality. That's about it. And we need the money. So reach out to people overseas where you have, who are your associates. Let them know that we have this organization, this movement for the people, that they can get on board and help to build, so that we can create a Jamaica that they can come home and live their best life even better than where they are now. And we ourselves can live our best life.
I see someone is asking, Mr. Chase, I can see channels doing super chats for less. Is this something you have considered? What is that?
I have no idea what super chat is.
I'm assuming it is some form of ways of receiving funds. I have on a number of occasions asked the treasurer and the deputy treasurer to look into all payment platforms and to recommend what can be done. So I'm posting it here. Miss Williams, Miss Abdul, please take a look into this super chat thing and see what can be done. It's not my area of expertise. I won't be doing anything on that. So I leave it to the treasurer and the fundraising director, Christine Simpson-Mensah, and deputy director, Dr. Harvey. You can look into this and let us know what is what there. And once again, if you want to donate to the UIC, you can go on our website. It's right there, uicjamaica.com, and you can join the movement and you can donate to the movement. If by chance you have any difficulties, you can reach out to us by these numbers on the screen, 876-293-0812 or 876-471-6598, or send an email to info@uicjamaica.com, and we'll be very happy to help you. But I must say, Mr. Neil, I really enjoyed our conversation this evening, and I think others might share my view. Now we're going to rate you. Before we used to rate the talk itself, and that's unfair to the candidates. We need for you to get feedback from the people so they can know what they thought of you. So brace yourself, put on your seatbelt, and let's hear what the people think. All of you who have listened to Mr. Neil, if you think the man ready, and this is the man that we should have running for the people of Western St. Mary as their MP candidate, please give him 100%. If you think him, not quite 100, but 90 or 95 or 85, do so as well. If he's halfway there, give him a 50. If he's not quite there, give him less than 50. So please go ahead and rate Mr. Neil now. Put up your 100 if he's excellent, and if he's less than excellent, give us something there as well. Yeah, please go ahead and put in your ratings right now. So my rating for Mr. Neil, I'll tell you what my rating is for Mr. Neil. On a scale of 1 to 100, this is what I would give Mr. Neil. Well, I've not done it for any of the other candidates, so I won't do it for him either. So, so please go ahead, my friends, and post your rating. Do you think Mr. Neil is ready to represent the UIC and the Jamaican people? Nottingham says 90, Ina says 99, Howard Foster says 100, Carol Spence says 100. Don't be shy, give him a rating. He will not be offended. He just wants the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help him God. So go ahead and put your rating there for him. Mrs. Patterson, what is your rating? She's smiling. She's over there. Ready for the sprint, said Wade Noble. Barima says 100. Kevin says 100. Please go ahead, rate Mr. Neil. Even after we come off the live, you're free to go on and put your comments in the comment box and put your rating and make your suggestions as well. I hope you enjoyed the program. I look forward to seeing you again when we'll have Mr. Crawford. Vincenza Crawford will be our next MP candidate. And yes, I have gotten some calls to run in my constituency. I am considering it, but I will not run unless you donate. It's that simple. If the money is not there to run, I'm not going to run. I'm not as brave as Mr. Chase Neil to run without money, or Mr. Wright to run without money, or Dr. Coretta to run without money, or whoever else. I am making it very clear. I will never deceive you. I will never lie to you. I will never cause you to think that something is A when it is B. And I know that naughty St. Elizabeth can be won, but only with your help. Western St. Mary can be won, but only with your help. Western Westmoreland can be won, but only with your help. East Rural St. Andrew can be won, but only with your help. Northeastern Manchester can be won, but only with your help. If you donate $25 a month, or $10 a month, or $5 a month, or $50 a month, or a one-time donation of 600, 500, 200, 1,000 US dollars, or whatever it is in Jamaican, if you donate, we have a chance of winning. If you don't, we have no chance in hell. It's that simple. Mr. Chase, congratulations. You have gotten a lot of hundreds, a lot of 90s and 95s, mostly hundreds. So you have the support of the people. Keep up the good work, sir. And see you again soon when we meet again with Mr. Vincenza Crawford next time. Ladies and gentlemen, big up yourself. Thank you all for being here tonight. It was most appreciated. Remember, how do we say it, Chief Neil? One Jamaica.
Stronger together.
All right. Take care. Good night, everyone.
Everybody.
All right. Respect.